So, is it time to admit that the rebuild is a failure? And if it is, who's at fault? There's plenty of blame to go around with the failure of this season, that's for sure. But if we take a little short journey back to when we started this, who's at fault right now? Is it Chris Grier? Is it Mike McDaniel? Is it Tua Tagovailoa? Who are we blaming for the failures we have right now? That's the question. Because I promise you this, the Miami Dolphins, with all the additions and moves and contracts and everything they've thrown out, did not envision themselves in this current situation. With, I think it's a 2% chance to the playoffs, standing behind teams that are seeded in the playoffs with 88, 98, and 99% to make it. So who's at fault? We're going to ask the question. I'm going to read a couple of articles, one by Barry Jackson in reference to Chris Grier. I'm going to read another one about Tua Tagovailoa in reference to from Omar Kelly. We're going to dissect these a little bit. We're also going to look into some numbers and some reasons why. Bottom line is you can't survive playing offense and playing football the way the Dolphins are right now. And I'm gonna show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. So, and then we're gonna talk about, Mike McDaniel coming up short with what I think we can all agree is probably some of the most talented rosters we've seen these last 3 years. And we're gonna look into all that. So on your way in, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. If you're coming here from Twitch or Twitter or your mom's basement, wherever it might be, podcast world over there, listen to us on iTunes and Apple Music and all that good stuff. Come over here to YouTube, subscribe with the channel, hit the like button. We're going to get right into it.
Turner Yell makes the stop in the secondary for Denver. 1st and 10, the fake, good block in there, and down it goes, caught at the 30. This is the dynamic throw. He's in for 6. Tyreek Hill, touchdown!
Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand, and damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder, and f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm f***ed off at these f***ing clowns who were all taught they deserve it now. It's only worth it if you work for it.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fins Tailgate with your host, El Capitan. Tonight on the tailgate party that never seems to stop, not a Victory Monday edition, not a Victory Playoff Football Team edition, not a Good Place to Be edition is what we finna be, right? Like, this is I mean, minus like a catastrophic injury to the quarterback, this is worst case scenario right now. This is like worst case scenario for this Dolphins team as far as expectations go, finances, you name it, dude. Like, coming up short, to say the least. Can't make rent this month or last month. So typically when you can't make rent on a couple of months, chances are you could be thrown out. You could be kicked up out the crib. And let's face it, right? They're making some rent payments every now and again, but over the last 3 years in particularly, with the type of lavish living we've been living in this house with the weaponry we've possessed, the expectations have come up very short on the dividends end. And, as far as playoff success goes, I mean, we haven't won a playoff game since Fiedler. Like, this is bad, right? This is not good. And I would say this team is hands down the most talented. I would say last year's roster is more talented than this year's. But that's, you can say what you want. They paid this one for certain. Shout out to everybody who made it in here for the start time. Was running just a moment late. Got caught in the back with color. I see Ali's back there. I'm probably maybe slide Ali in here soon enough. But Carla in here. Good to see you, Carla. I know you have some harsh words for me in the way I feel and react to this football team. But I can promise you this, Carla. I am cold and calculated with everything I do. Scott, what's up, Scott Jackson? I see a happy Michael K in chat who's feeling really good about his Buffalo Bills, and rightfully so. That freaking whooping that they put on. I get that the Lions mounted a comeback and it got super exciting on the onside kick try, but the way that offense is rolling, goodness gracious, I don't think anybody can stop that right now. Ms. Relentless, salute, welcome. Greg in the crib, what's up, Greg, the family member, saying hoping they fire Ross. Jamie, what's up? Shark Shadow, what's going on? Mike Best, what's happening? I see you, Dow. Ghost One, finna be in the chat. Cali Fin Fan. Lila V, what's good? Little V. Dolphin Dystopia, LOL. Are you guys ready to have played utterly disgusting hot garbage yesterday? Guess what else? We still can't run the ball, catch the ball, force a turnover to save our life. Well, I want to say we did actually get a turnover yesterday, but whatever. Tua against win teams 13 or 3-12. Oh, I wish it was 13. So yes, we're gonna talk about that too. I got some numbers. I'm gonna be pointing some things out, and we're gonna problem solve this a little bit. I'm gonna read some of these articles. We're gonna get into it, right? I got a action packed, put together situation here because honestly, I gotta say, been clowning around with people on X and, doing the damn thing with the boys here at the gate, right? But myself and getting in here and really letting it be known, Capitan style, that's coming. Is that Grump? What's up, Grumpy? There he is, right? Look, Grumpy say he banned over here. I see you, Grumpy. David. What's up, David? Can we talk about the shit we are not allowing to toning? Like, got the wrong Mike McDaniel, Blake Ferguson. Seems like there's some weird shit going on. Jamie, I like where your head's at. Me, Jamie. I love a good conspiracy, bro. I'll follow the thinnest of threads. Bryson, what's up, buddy? I see you. Omar, what's going on? I see you in there. Omar Gonzalez, all the way from Texas. Welcome. Hit the like button. Get in chat. Chat, welcome. The Texan, Omar. That's your girl be let go. Everyone else has been locked up. Next year they'll let Greer go? Well, I don't know. They're really coming at Greer kind of hard. And they're looking, listen, now, Dolphins fans, even in all of our delusion right now, are still thinking, yeah, they probably win these last 3 games, but, you know, and then we'll roll it back. There's no guarantee we can beat the Niners. And then if we beat the Niners, I'm like, well, it's just more of the same. Can't beat good teams. But what if we drop one to the friggin' Browns? Then they'll be like, oh, we can't even beat the bad teams in the cold weather. And then what if we drop one to the Jets, looking to find some shred of dignity on the way out, beating the Dolphins at home for their fans? What if the Dolphins go on an epic slide? You still think some people are going to be safe in these parts? You think some people are going to be safe around here? There's people that are potentially not safe at the moment. Y'all are acting like we're going to go on a 3-game win streak. There's no guarantee for that. There's no guarantee this football team can beat the likes of the Jets, who they had to squeak out an overtime win at home. The Jets and the Dolphins, the last game of the year, could be playing for the exact same shit. Nothing. Bragging rights. And you could say, oh, Jets are tanking for a quarterback in the draft. I don't give a damn. You think Aaron Rodgers tanking for the Jets? I don't think he gives a shit what the Jets got in mind. I really don't. El Bully, I see you. Why? How'd you do that so quickly? I didn't even see it. It says El Bully on there. When did that happen? When'd you do that?
I want to say that was last night when you were talking about bullying people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Apparently, I'm the big bully in the parts. All over.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was discussing, right, there's no guarantee that we even run the table. So it's not like the seat could. People are working in a realm where like these seats ain't getting hotter, and I get it. There's a strong narrative out there right now that everybody's coming back, and I would say right now, if the Dolphins win out, that will be true. But come home for the last home game and get freaking clapped by the Niners and outclassed. Lose one of those 2 games against the hapless Jets and the hapless Browns on the road in the cold. And you tell me that somebody ain't going to get fired around these parts. Good luck. Now, will they serve up like a body for the fans like a Frank Smith? Probably, right? They'll get him. They'll be like, Frank Smith and Danny Crosby, get him out of here. And everybody be like, yeah. Like the clapping seals they are. Because Danny Crossman's to blame. Listen, Buddy probably should have been fired. But it's not like we're going to get in. It's not like special teams has been costing this football team all year. It ain't because special teams just didn't get it going this year while we're having the shitty season we are. I'm not saying they're helping. And guess what? The Sandman been freaking perfect at 50 plus. So, and Frank Smith ain't nothing but a fall guy.
Yeah.
So, couple of things, right? Where I'm going to start this. Is Chris Greer at fault for the failed rebuild? Contextually, as the guy that sits at the helm at the top, whether it's the quarterback or the coach or a multitude of anything underneath him that has been the reason for failure, you can lay it at his feet. You can. The guy's been in the building since like 2000. He's been running this team the way he sees fit since the end of the 2018 season. And we are now in a 6th year of the rebuild on a 5th year with a quarterback that we've paid top dollars for because they plan to take this tear down and rebuild to years 7, 8, and on a 10-year damn plan. Now, what's crazy is we've seen 7-year plans come and go around these parts too. We absolutely have. So what do you think, Ollie?
Yeah, we've seen, this rebuild. We tore it down back in 2000. What was it? 2019. We tore it down to the ground, bro. It was to the ground, and we made moves to accumulate, all these draft picks, and look where we ended up. We're no better than. I would argue that we're no better than where we were before the rebuild even began. Do you remember the last season with Adam Gase, for example? I would argue we're no better than that. And it's really disturbing where we're at. But the question remains, who to blame? In my opinion, there is no one to blame.
If I want it like that.
I don't think there's anyone to blame but Chris Greer. And before you get going, I'm sorry. You look at what his responsibility is. It is his responsibility to ensure this team has what it needs to endure the season. And year after year, he made moves. Yeah, he definitely had positives. I mean, you look at Chop Robinson, for example. You look at, drafting Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips and Holland, Wilkins, and even Hunt when he was here. All those guys were positives. Those were great positive moves that Chris Greer has made. But if you look at the entirety of every year, he never finished the job. He never finished rebuilding the team. He always left glaring holes either on the offensive line, which has been the last 3 years he's done, right? Or he left us needing depth in positions that were important. You know what I mean? And he's done this every year. And every year we have the same outcome. It's like doing the same experiment over and over and over again without changing anything. Yeah, you might change the ingredients, but if you look at the equation, it still ends up being the same. So I really think he's the only person to really blame. You could blame McDaniel for decisions on the field during a game. Okay, I get that. But when it comes to positions of need, if we're going to sit here and let's say the Tourniers are right. Let's say they're right about the offensive line. Oh, they're playing the worst offensive line, put together, blah, 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 blah. They couldn't do anything. Let's say they're right just for 1 second. I know that they're not. I'm not blaming the offensive line for the interceptions at all, to be honest. But let's just take that for 1 second. Whose fault is it that the offensive line wasn't addressed throughout the season?
Well,
whose fault is it that we didn't have a proper backup? That even in the preseason, you could see that the backups were horrendous. Do you understand what I'm saying? There was no positivity, not an ounce of positivity during the preseason when it came to Skylar Thompson or Mike White. Not a single bit, right? You look at that. He decided, you know what? I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the offensive line. We couldn't even run the ball hardly at all on Sunday, right? Whose fault is that?
So I could say that you, again, with my first statement, you could blame Chris Greer for the personnel that is on the team currently that can't run the ball the way we're wanting it to happen as fans. But I could also say that we know Chris Greer is giving the coach exactly what they want, and they're making decisions. A coach who pounded the table to get Tua paid, as he admitted, as Tua admitted. Okay? So when you do that, you then get roster picks of what we can afford in this type of manner. And the scheme you're asking for is not road grading blockers. You're asking for light guys who have athleticism and can get out into space a lot. And that's what we use. And we're going to get into that. I don't want to get bogged down in these questions. I got a heavy itinerary. So hold the questions, because I do want you to ask these questions as we go, because I have rebuttals on why really we're in quite the quagmire. as far as where the blame, because the blame is shared. And when I get to the end of this, you're going to see that it's shared by everybody. Okay. So I just want to point out before we start and get onto this Barry Jackson article about Chris Grier that I'm going to go through, and we're going to pick apart bit by bit and refute and debate on it as we go along. Since 2019, these are the picks in 2019. Now, this is only to the 6th round. I want to say, you know what? Let me just pull it up real quick, because I know that I want to say they got like Sanders or some shit then too, or something. So, first round pick in the 2019 draft was Christian Wilkins. Now, I get that he's no longer with the football team, but he is certainly not a miss, right? And we chose, and we all, fans included, myself, very adamant that, yes, he is a hit at first round. They went with the 5th-year option, and paying him was not feasible to the team. And the money they didn't pay him, they put into, I guess you could say, Jalen Ramsey instead, as we saw the rework. So I don't think that was a wrong move. The next pick in that draft was a 3rd-round pick, and that was Michael Dieter. Michael Dieter never really got it going here in Miami, but did find himself making a career out of the center right now. The 5th pick in that 2019 draft was Andrew Van Ginkel. Now, I don't care who you are. Andrew Van Ginkel in the 5th, now a guy we didn't elect to sign and chose to get Chop Robinson and Shaq Barrett to replace Andrew Van Ginkel. We can debate about that being the right move. But at the time, in 2019, a 5th-round pick for Andrew Van Ginkel, I mean, hello, amazing. Now, the next guy on this is our 6th-round pick, Isaiah Prince, tackle out of Ohio. Now, he did not have luck here with the Dolphins, but he did find a job on the starting line for quite a bit of football, and I believe is still in Cincinnati playing meaningful football. So we can debate that the guy's not here, but to say that that's a miss is very debatable.
Can I real quick? Just real quick.
Let me get to the last pick, because the last pick was a 7th rounder, and that was Myles Gaskin. Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, a 7th rounder, for all the work we got out of the guy, I don't think you could call that a miss, considering it was a 7th rounder, and we used him quite a hell of a lot before we got rid of him when the running back clock went out, right? So go ahead.
I was just going to say that offensive lineman that we think is still in Cincinnati, he may not be there still, but
did you know he had a couple of years that he played for them, and I get that he wasn't great, but it's a 6th rounder.
My point was that he started the Super Bowl.
That's right. Thank you. I knew he had. Yes, exactly.
I'm like, really?
Yes, exactly, bro.
So
now remember, that's a guy we got in the 6th round.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So let me get to 2017, or excuse me, 2020. If I can find the damn thing, where'd it go? Here it is. The 2020 draft. Tua Tagovailoa, picked with the 5th overall pick. Mm-hmm. This is after Grier initiated the rebuild. We're in the teardown. Now we're in the rebuild. Okay. Tua Tagovailoa on the team, paid as your franchise quarterback. I think that could be the move that hung him, that gets him the hook off the stage, because I would say that there is a big contention of debate on whether this was where everything went wrong. Because remember, this is with a previous coach in Brian Flores, and this is the most crucial of picks. Now, if you're telling me that the pick was between him and Justin Herbert, I don't know if one's more right than the other. We could say we wanted Joe Burrow, but we had no shot at getting him, like Cincinnati got him. and whatever. Austin Jackson. I don't see that as a miss. He's still on the team, got a contract. He's our right tackle. Yes, he's injured, but again, you can't say Greer whiffed on that. Noah Igbenogany. Now, this is one we've debated before. A whiff for Miami, not a whiff of a pick, ultimately, because I think he was 19 years old when we scouted and drafted the kid. He's now like 23 years old and in his final year of what would be the 5th year with the Dolphins, and he's playing pretty good. I want to say he's like the 9th ranked corner in the NFL, and they're gonna re-sign him there for the Commanders. So next pick in the 2nd round, Robert Hunt. That's a hit. Now, we didn't pay Robert Hunt, and everyone's crying about the O-line woes right now. But we had to say goodbye to Robert Hunt, who was a hit for the money he was getting, because we couldn't afford him, because we decided to make investments in wide receivers too, and a quarterback, and other things along the way. Still a hit, debatable on the misses from letting him leave the building. Raekwon Davis, 2nd round pick. I don't know. That's a bunt to me, right? Like, we had such high hopes for the guy. He never delivered, but he was never a liability. 3rd round pick, Brandon Jones. He's balling out and right now with the Steelers. Next was Solomon Kinley.
Is he with the Steelers? I thought he went to the Broncos.
Oh, sorry, it's the Broncos. I'm thinking of the other safety we let walk out the building that's balling out. My fault. Solomon Kinley, bust. Jason Stobridge, bust in the 5th round. Curtis Weaver, bust. Malcolm Perry in the 7th round, bust. And Blake Ferguson in the 6th round. I would say he's a hit, but the guy's got something going on all year. It's unrelated football illness, something going on. I don't know what's going on with him, but it does sound kind of serious when he's missed as much time as he has for some personal matters. I hope everything's okay. So then let's now move on. 2021, the continuation of the rebuild. Jalen Waddle, that's a grand slam. Jalen Phillips, debatable right now. I would say when he's healthy,
triple, bro.
Triple,
not a grand slam
color.
A triple,
no, grand slam.
A triple with 2 guys on base.
We're not debating it.
I'm saying he's a home run, but only in-house home run, not out of the stadium.
All right, I'll concede.
Oh, I get it, Ali, because he's so fast, he can run an in-the-park home run. Good one, Ali.
So, next pick, right? Jalen Phillips, again, kind of debatable on whether or not. Listen, when he's healthy and playing, he's really good. Problem is he's often injured, and it's all different reasons. Next year's his 5th year. I would say for the money you're paying him and the potential production you're going to get on his 5th year option, probably going to work out in the favor ultimately for that draft pick to get its value. Next, our top 2nd round pick, Javon Holland. He has fallen off of a cliff. I would have said heading into this season, he's a hit. At this moment,
he's a double. He's a single, but he got picked off trying to steal second base.
So the next guy after him is Liam Eichenberg, and I'll just say it. Liam is an absolute miss because they traded up to get him. He never had the trade up value or the 2nd round pick value. But I'm not gonna say he's the worst guard I've seen for the Dolphins.
Which means it's a single.
It's at least it's okay.
It's
not a strikeout. It's not a strikeout,
right,
but it ain't.
Maybe it's a walk. He got walked on base.
He got walked. Next, 3rd round, Hunter Long, bust. We traded him, but I don't even want to get into all that semantics. Larnell Coleman, bust. Guy from UMass in the 7th round. Are we really?
I thought he was all right. He just got hurt. But
yeah, but again, it was a guy from a tiny little school that was really trying to stretch it. And then Jared Dokes in the 7th round, bust.
Yeah,
again, these are 7th rounders. The 3rd rounder, Hunter Long, that's a hurt, right? But when you're talking about Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Liam Eichenberg gone ahead of him, again, I would say it's not the best draft, but it's not the worst drafts I've seen around here. I've been watching Dolphins swing and miss in the first round for quite some time. So, but again, 4 of those guys on the field, the remainder not for the Dolphins, right? Next coming up, now we can say, yes, we lost a pick. We lost a pick for the Tom Brady boat scandal. We traded for Bradley Chubb with this first rounder, and this is hands down the worst draft that Chris Grier has under his tenure during this rebuild. And that was the 2022 draft where they took Channing Tindall, who is a bust. I don't care what anybody says. The guy will be gone next year. Eric Ikuzama, who is a bust. There's nothing there. And then the final guy on here, Cameron Good, which I would say for a 7th round pick, Cameron Good, I don't know about a double. I would say he's definitely a hit for what we've gotten out of him, but chances are he will not be with this team next year.
All right, we'll give him second base. He hit a single and got on second with an error. So
now I just want to point out Cameron Good, injured, has gotten production out of him. Not a lot, but as a 7th round project, kind of guy, not bad.
That's why I give him second base. Because the guy,
he overshot the value pick. I'll give you that in some aspects.
He's like,
if he wasn't injured. Listen, if he was never injured, it would be a really good pick. But he's injured.
I'm giving him a double only for the fact that I've seen more from him than I've seen from Mo Kamara.
Right.
At this current juncture, yes, you are correct.
And Channing Tindall, who was drafted 4 places ahead of him.
But remember, this is his 3rd year, and I would say yes to both those things. Again. The final pick in 2022, Skylar Thompson. Now, call it a miss all you want because Skylar didn't work out. They still kept that guy on the fucking team.
And by the way, latest tweet from David Fiorone's, the Dolphins intend to bring him back onto the practice squad. So,
I know.
Sorry, you haters. He's coming back, baby. Bring him home.
Color, just admit I called it. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was a possibility.
We know they do that all the time. And Skylar doesn't have enough clout to survive needing to take a chance on the waiver. You know what I mean?
All right, guys, we're going to let's keep it pushing. So again, still his worst draft, right? Probably up to this point. Skylar Thompson, I don't even want to get in the fucking debate, but I would say for the last pick of their 7th round, yes, it's not as good as Brock Purdy was, but it's not as bad as who got picked in the 1st round, Ritter or whatever the hell his name was by the Falcons, or the 2nd round.
That Brock Purdy book is being written by Disappearing Ink, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, 2023 draft. Now, remember, actually, no, that was the Tyreek Hill 1st round pick that we used in 2022. The 2023 1st round pick was used for Cameron Good.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a 1st round pick in 2023.
Correct.
Our 2nd round pick, looking like a bust, Cam Smith. Hands down, terrible bust. Looking terrible. The only thing that makes that pick not hurt as much as it does for the previous year is because Devon Achane was selected in the 3rd round behind him, and that guy is an absolute complete stud.
Right.
Completely.
Cap really quick stud on Cam Smith. This is why what I had come up to say earlier. I'm glad you got to Cam Smith because I can make a semantical argument, and I know you don't like semantics. I don't argue semantics with you, but I can make a semantical argument that every single draft pick Chris Grier picked was a hit or was not a miss. Because if they're talking about collaborative efforts and everything's about consensus, then the whole room picked these guys, not Chris Grier. The reason I say that is because semantically speaking, if you want to talk about what defines a miss, that means the ball was coming at you, you swung, and you didn't hit the ball. So then you're not talking about Cam Smith as a pick. You're talking about missing on Tyreek Stevenson, who is in Chicago right now, putting together 2 seasons so far that are on track for big time.
And yes, you're right. So, but in this realm, I'm just trying to look at
I hear you. That's why I didn't want to go too deep in the semantics.
Player evaluation, right?
I got you. I got you.
Of where they were picked and the value in which the pick warrants or not.
Right.
And
I just wanted to isolate that one because it actually defines what a miss is. Like, you had the best corner on board. Instead, you picked Cam Smith, and that corner that was best on board is balling out in its 2 seasons. So that is a legit miss. Like, it's a missed that player. You know what I mean?
It's a big time miss. So next up on this, and this is where it gets a little dicey, in the 6th round. Now, this is a 6th round pick, right? It's kind of you're throwing darts all day. Once you get past the freaking 3rd round, you're throwing darts without feathers on them. You know what I'm saying? You're really trying. 6th round, Elijah Higgins. Now, this is a guy that ended up going to Arizona and has found success and is working out for what I think they projected him to. They chose to keep Julian Hill and thought they can get away with putting him on the practice squad, and it didn't work out. That is, again, debatable on how you want to get it. And then the 7th rounder, Ryan Hayes, who was just elevated last game. Again, what are you expecting from these 7th rounders, right? The only thing that came out of that draft that was worth a damn, if we're being real, is Devon Achane. And I would say those 3 other picks, if I would have said they traded everything, all 4 of those picks to get Devon Achane, I'd have been fine with it.
Right. That would have been a good draft, right?
That would have been a good draft. He'd be like, all right, this guy's really the deal.
Considering I think Devon Achane is probably the first player in a century that we put right on the field as a rookie.
And has done well and I mean, dude, he got what, like 800 yards as a rookie or some shit on
that a record for like yards per game or something, right?
Yeah,
right.
Something. All right, so now we're caught up. Now we're in last year's draft. Chop Robinson.
Wait, did we get to Noah?
Yeah, we already went that. That was 2020.
We call that a hit, right?
Yeah, well, again, we'll say a miss to the Dolphins, but a hit in the evaluation, right?
Well, I mean, he's outperforming Ramsey this year.
I got you.
So, in less games.
2020, the 2024 draft picks are as such. Chop Robinson, who looks to be worth the 1st round pedigree. We've taken edges in the 1st round that have not worked out. Chop Robinson making me take back anything I thought about it was a waste pick, because with the injuries and what he's been able to do as a rookie, I would like to see more, but everything I'm seeing shows me that this kid's going to translate. And if he just gets better at the pace I can expect him to, he's going to meet my expectations from what I have from him. And maybe we'll get lucky. Yeah, Chop. Maybe we'll get lucky where he just puts it all together and looks like a superstar. I
think he'll be a dog. I
think he's good. I like him. I love him. I feel like it's a really good pick. Next pick is Patrick Paul, 2nd round. Guy started yesterday. We knew it was going to be a slow rollout. They envision him as the future at left tackle. That is a hit. The 4th round pick, the 3rd in this draft coming up, Jalen Wright. Debatable on whether it's a hit or not, but I would say the amount of usage a running back from the 4th round's getting with this offense this year, I say that's a damn good hit.
And if he gets a yard, give him the ball again. You got to keep feeding a rookie. You can't be like, oh, the rookie only got 1.5 yards. Let's never give him the ball again.
Yep. Well, we can definitely hope that they do right by him. But again, in this evaluation, a hit. Next up, Mo Kamara. We don't know. Jury's still out. A 5th round pick. If he never plays, it'll be a miss. But if they get anything out of him close to what they've gotten out of Cameron Good, we can look at it and say, hey, not that bad, right? Next up, 6th round. This is a great pick. Malik Washington. Excellent pick. This pick could end up being ipso facto like the
highly efficient
Andrew
pick
Van
at the 6th round. Right.
It could be ipso facto like an Andrew Van Ginkelish type pick with the type of production we could see.
Yep, exactly. Highly efficient pick when you got a guy with the hands that he's got, you know.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Antonio Brown a 6th round pick?
Probably.
Yes, I believe he was.
Honestly,
he's out there joysticking people.
I'm not saying it's Antonio Brown, but he has a lot of potential, and we might see something in the making is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Everybody hit the like button, please.
Yes, I said Malik Washington has good hands. I don't care about a muff punt. in the driving cold wind. Okay, I don't care about that.
Hey, he's a rookie. Gets a mulligan, bro. That's it. I don't want to hear nothing about. Next up, again, 6th round pick, Patrick McMorris, the safety. There's some things we like. We haven't seen enough of him. Again, if he develops and could be a rotation guy, or listen, we got nobody signed at safety. This guy could be a starter next year. And if that's the case, that is a absolute crush. I like him. I think he's got what it takes to play in this league. I think there's some health stuff where they're getting worked out, but
Who is it?
we'll
Who is
see.
it again? I'm sorry.
Patrick McMorris, the Cal, the kid from Cal.
Yeah.
And then finally, the guy who ended up on IR at the start of the season, to me, a smart IR by the Dolphins. This kid has potential. He looks really good, but he needs to put on some NFL weight out here before they're going to put him out on the field. And that's Taj Washington. I called it when they picked him. I said the smart thing to do is to put him on season-ending IR and get that boy on a meal program and see if he can retain the speed and shiftiness he does with 10 more pounds of muscle. And I promise you that's exactly what they're doing. So whether or not we could see him brought in, he'll get the same opportunity that Malik did this year, next year, where they'll probably try him out on some punt returns, figure some sweeps, and put Malik more into the rotation of being a wide receiver possession guy. There's a natural progression going there. So again, right, these were the picks, and I went ahead and talked about these picks because we're going to go into this next article by Barry Jackson here that he has a lot to say about.
I noticed
the
objectivity
failure
has returned to the Jackson camp.
Well, not just Jackson, but even Omar Kelly on the next article I'm going to read at the very end. I'm telling you, some real stuff is going on.
Omar's day-to-day, Cap.
Yeah, but before we get going, everybody, please hit the like button, get the likes up. Algorithm, we haven't gone on a Monday night in a minute, so the algorithm is helping us out. Hit the join button and join the membership. We really need everybody to help out with the memberships, like, share, donate, all that good stuff. And also check out TFTGnetwork.com to check out what's all the good stuff on the store and all the cool stuff that we that HB in the back provides.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you guys are checking out the digital store at tftgnetwork.com. Digital store. Make sure you getting in there, checking out all the new stuff. Always new stuff getting on there. Search engine's really dope too. So if you're looking for something in particular, they'll have it.
Yeah, in particular, the color commentary coffee mugs, which I just picked up 2 of them, Cap. One of each version.
There you go.
Look, they haven't even gotten here yet, and my coffee is already tasting better. Just saying.
All right, so let's get to this Barry Jackson article and try to move on. We're taking up way more time than I anticipated, but that's all right. So Barry Jackson writes of the Miami Herald, the great tank of 2019 began with a treasure trove of draft choices and wishful thinking that those picks could paralyze. All right, hold up. Jumping around. The fucking ad popped up on me, so I'm fucking up. Let's start this over. Act 2. The great tank of 2019 began with a treasure trove of draft choices and the wishful thinking that those picks could be parlayed into the foundation of a perennial contender after years of irrelevance. And here's how it worked. The Dolphins drafted 32 players during the first 5 years of the rebuild. That's 2019 through 2013. Now, we just went over all those picks, right? We talked about which ones are here, which ones, or at least which ones worked out, and why some aren't around. Barry goes on to say just 7 of those 32 draft picks were in uniform on Sunday, and none of them made any kind of tangible difference in the 20-12 loss at Houston. So, in the most important game of the season, the Dolphins went
that was kind of
0.
wild.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what the hell happened there. Had hair on my tongue as I'm reading this.
I
Color.
was gonna
What's
say,
that
you
mean,
kind of
dude?
reminded me of Peter Griffin for a minute there.
That's just really weird, bro.
Pulling the pube out of his mouth.
First of all, pause, Color. I'm trying to get through this seriously. You're messing it up. All right.
Well,
So
I just wanted to say something else that was wild. I don't know if you caught it earlier. I know you ignored my chat in YouTube, but I'm gonna slide Ali in here any moment. That's kind of wild too, bro. Just not gonna lie, man.
This Color needs to stop, bro.
Bro,
All right.
bro.
Jeez, dude. Yes, but Bryson, little touch of dyslexia.
I can't help it. Lewis and Tony trained me well. I hear it everywhere I go now when somebody says something. Man,
I don't even know who those guys
everybody
are.
in my real life now.
Who's that? Who are those guys?
I don't know. They run some kind of pickup truck show about.
Yeah, they're doing some stuff. Yeah, it's cool. Hell yeah, boys. Go trucking. All right, so most important game of the season, the Dolphins went 0 for 32 with from within the 2019 to 2023 picks that were supposed to be much of the nucleus of the team to win now. So some were missing because of injuries, others were traded, some simply underperformed, and some were simply busts. How many busts were there? We just went through it, right? How many busts were there? Would you say out of those 32 picks that he's talking to, that we'll give 6 busts, right? We'll just say that. Some were simply busts, Barry Jackson says, an indictment of this general manager and the personnel department. At least a few of the 2024 picks were on the field Sunday. Meanwhile, on the sideline, and you saw difference-making. Meanwhile, on the other sideline, you saw difference-making Houston draft picks everywhere you looked. Cornerback Derek Stingley, who we saw a lot of in that game, snatched 2 critical fourth-quarter interceptions. QB C.J. Stroud had a 106.4 passer rating, did just enough in a day against the Dolphins defense that played generally well. Third-round rookie safety Kalen Bullock intercepted Tua Tagovailoa in the game as well. Second-round pick Kamir last year had 6 tackles and was a nuisance all day. So was the former third overall pick, Will Anderson. Remember that guy, who forced a fumble. So was Nico Collins, a Texans third-round pick who caught 2 touchdowns. And then there was linebacker Henry Tioto, a 5th-round pick in 2023, making a difference, making plays, while 5 years of underwhelming Dolphin draft doomed them on another Sunday, just like they've doomed them the time after against other good teams as well. So let's take a closer look at those 32 picks between 2019 to 2023, a handful of which came from the Houston trade for Laramie Tunsil, beginning with the 7 in uniform for the Dolphins on Sunday when another season essentially died. Ooh. Tagovailoa was awful on Sunday with 3 interceptions and 4 total turnovers. Javon Holland missed a tackle, resulting in a sizable game, and hasn't really made an impact in several weeks. Liam Eichenberg was abused all day and night at right guard and committed 2 costly penalties. Channing Tindall, I'm not even going to read what he wrote about that guy. That guy sucks. And the only thing I can remember is something he did say here is he got a penalty on a return. Guy can't even get on the damn field for defense, but when he's on there for special teams, he's making problems. Jalen Waddle left the game without a catch with a knee injury. Devon Achane only mustered 41 yards on the ground for 3.4 yards per carry, making it the 5th time in the past 6 games he failed to gain a 3.5 average per carry. Ryan Hayes was elevated for the game and was active only because the Dolphins were out without top offensive tackles, 3 of them. And he didn't play. So 4 of those 32 picks, Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel, Robert Hunt, Brandon Jones, were assets when they played here and could have helped this year. But none were prioritized in the offseason, and all have departed. 2 key picks, Jalen Phillips and Austin Jackson, sidelined by injuries. Most of those 5 years of draft picks are gone, like Noah Igbenogany and Raekwon Davis and Michael Dieter. And if this isn't a further indictment, we can go sneak back to 2019, where the Dolphins let go of Minkah Fitzpatrick because he didn't want to play for Brian Flores at a single position. And general manager went ahead and let let him go. And that pick was replaced by Austin Jackson. They've swapped that first round. They ended up taking Austin Jackson. It's an even greater indictment if you could include the 2017 draft where they took Charles Harris over TJ Watt. I don't even want to talk about that. Again, I noticed that to make his point, he went beyond the rebuild years into 18 and 17, but whatever. Now let's be clear. Greer did not whiff on those picks. Tagovailoa did not whiff on all those picks. Tagovailoa has been very good the past 6 weeks before unraveling this Sunday. Phillips has been snake bitten by injuries, but pretty good. Achane is a good player, though he is a subpar runner the past month without adequate blocking. Jackson has been a competent right tackle, but the Dolphins originally envisioned him at left tackle, and he has been injured.
Can I just correct Barry on one thing real quick, because I've been hearing it all week? Can we not forget that Achane is one of our top producers the past couple games, catching passes out of the flat? The dude has been averaging like 80 yards a game total production. Like, we got to get off this idea that, it's not his fault that that we're calling a West Coast offense. You know what I mean? The guy's producing still.
Gotcha. And I think he's a scat back that's perfect for the West Coast offense, if I'm being real, especially with his talent. Okay, so he says, but not nearly enough of the 32 have been good enough to comprise the foundation of a division title contender, let alone the Super Bowl contender that owner Stephen Ross envisioned. And because many of the picks didn't work out, the Dolphins have needed to keep spending in free agency, leaving them with precious little cap space to address the myriad needs next offseason. Because Jackson couldn't become the efficient left tackle, they had to spend $60 million on Teron Armstead, who has been very good but lacked durability, and he missed Sunday's game. Because Eric Ikuzama couldn't become a good number 3, they had to waste $3 million on OBJ. Because Tyndall couldn't become a decent rotational guy, they had to sign David Long Jr., and now with Anthony Walker Jr. And we still need to address that position next offseason because Anthony Walker Jr. is only under a 1-year deal. Because Liam Eichenberg couldn't become an above-average starter, they'll need to find another starting offensive lineman this season. this offseason because they couldn't afford to keep Wilkins and or Hunt. They'll need to find quality defensive tackle and guards as well because they opted for Shaq Barrett instead of Andrew Van Ginkel and pay an extra 2.5 in guaranteed money. Their pass rush wasn't nearly good enough this offseason with the absence of Chubb and Phillips for most of the season. Because they allowed Jones to leave to Denver and because Holland seemingly regressed and because Jordan Poyer's signing was an absolute mistake, they will need to find 2 safeties this offseason. Hopefully it's McMorris. I think they should activate McMorris now and put Poyer on the bench and ride it out. Do the same with Cam Smith too, because Cam Smith has been injury prone and ineffective when healthy. They will need to keep spending for a veteran cornerback. At least Jalen Ramsey and Kyle Fuller are under contract, and Miami controls Cater Kohu's rights through 2025. So there is that silver lining. In fairness, Greer appears to have hit on several 2024 picks. Patrick Paul, competent, going to play left tackle. Chop Robinson, one of the best pass rush win rates in the NFL, and he had 2 sacks. Malik Washington, as we pointed out, 52 yards on 5 receptions in the last game. Looks like he's coming alive pretty good. But you can't play a critical December game and have a critical win in the last 6 years of this rebuild. For whatever reason you want to call it, and I have none of the 32 picks in the years. 1 of 5 make a significant difference on Sunday at all. They only had 7 of which in uniform on the game. So only 7 of them were ready to be there on game day. That's pretty much where he gets off. Then he starts getting on to a little bit of some other stuff here with Hill and Tyreek and Tua and what their numbers and stuff are. But, when you put it like that and you want to blame Chris Grier for 1 game loss, that's easy to do, how Barry Jackson just did. When you break down the picks and knowing what his job details are come draft time and what he does with the capital, I would say whether those guys are here or whether they couldn't contribute on Sunday is irrelevant. It really is. And what it's not said in that article from Barry Jackson
is whose responsibility is to get those guys on the field.
Beyond all that, why certain picks are made and certain aren't, and how the team is currently constructed and how it's designed as such with the signings and the let-goes and the picks. He's not just grabbing talented players. That as much as obvious. There is an apparent method to the madness. And why would I think of it anything more than what it appears to be from exactly what they're telling me? The coach wants these things. They're available on the board. We take them. So we can move it. We can kick this can to Mike McDaniel. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. Because the next thing up here is Mike McDaniel to blame for the team's failure. That's the next thing. Is he to blame? Now we can go back, right, to 2019, the tank year, 2020, the rebuild year, to 2021, the rebuild year that didn't go the way, and then everything went off the rails, and everybody wasn't happy, and they fired the head coach. There was some not nice talking going on in the parts around here, and ultimately they pivoted with a quarterback they took 5th overall, not under a contract, wondering what to do. Now, we can believe all we want that it may or may have not been just lip service. And I will agree that it is just lip service. But the lip service we got from owner Stephen Ross, as Color has pointed out several times. And the lip service we got from the general manager of the Miami Dolphins was that it is going to be up to the head coach on what we're going to do with Tua. It is going to be up to the head coach on what we're going to do with this football team. And what did they do? They go, they interview people. They like Mike McDaniel. He tells them all the great things that he can do. He said so himself. What did he get? He go through 700 snaps of Tua from his first 2 years or something like that, and picked out all this stuff and compiled a video saying, I can win with this guy. Didn't he call Tua and tell him all this on his flight here, saying, I've got you? He said he could do it. This is Tua. I can do it with what I'm seeing on film.
Who petitioned Ross to get Tua's contract done?
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We are going in a linear path. Tua was all but a broken shell of what we had all hoped he could be. And you can put any context to that you'd like. You could say it took too long for him to recover from the injury. He had nicked up little injuries, hand, elbow, fucking toothache, all kinds of shit the first fucking 2 years. And I'm sorry for swearing. I've been trying not to. That being said, it was an undertaking. The Dolphins knew this about him. They had let the coach away. They put that on that last coach, that he mentally broke him down, along with all the physical things he was ailing him. By all accounts, why would anyone believe in that? Why would anyone even want that job? Well, they found a guy that convinced them to stick with the quarterback for the remaining of the for the remaining future, and said as such. And whilst this is happening, something interesting becomes available. They trade for Tyreek Hill. And I can remember the press conference after they traded for Tyreek Hill when they were talking about it. Chris Grier, and this loosely, I'm going to quote both of Grier and McDaniel because I remember it was big stuff. Well, we got a call from Kansas, They made us aware that, Tyreek Hill is available, and if we were interested, I couldn't believe that a player like Tyreek Hill's caliber would become unavailable. And I brought it to Mike McDaniel, and I was like, do we pull the trigger on this? And Mike McDaniel's like, absolutely, getting this guy in the building. Are you kidding me? And everyone concurred that this would be the best thing for Mike McDaniel to help with what he had brought through 700 freaking snaps, tens of thousands of hours of freaking film grinding. That was going to work for Tua Tagovailoa. And albeit, son of a bitch was right. Son of a bitch was right. That Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa and that scheme that Mike McDaniel put together out the gates. Mwah. Was a thing of beauty, ladies and gentlemen. Was an absolute thing of beauty. Came up short, though, in the 2020 season. Something new comes across the land. And I want you guys to remember this when we get to the third part of this segment. But something new comes across the land. Tua no longer in his head, feeling himself. He's feeling it. But concussions become something. Never been an issue before, at least not one we've known about or had to deal with. And it derails the season, ultimately. And to couple with that, something Dolphins fans have been dealing with for a little while now. Failure against high-powered opponents and failure at the end of the season, falling short in the month of December, getting off the rails late into November, not being able to beat the good teams, not being able to beat the playoff teams, not being able to beat teams above 500, not being able to beat teams on the road where weather conditions are inclement. But we were told at the end of this 2022 season that those failures were a one-off, that those failures were not something that was going to hold this team back ultimately, that they were going to continue to build this offense the way in which Mike McDaniel can get success out of Tua. They were going to continue to see what can happen and what be done to get the most out of Tua Tagovailoa. And they roll it out 2023, baby. Roll it back 2023. And man, oh man, at the beginning of the season, everybody looked to be right. Off-season additions, everything's starting to pan out now. Players are playing up. Christian Wilkins, Zach Seiler, defense looks like it's got something going on. Yeah, the guy we had on defense the year prior never really got it going. I can even remember when Mike McDaniel told Boyer, defensive coordinator Boyer, get your shit figured out or get your shit together on the sidelines in a game late in the season. So something we kind of went over a little bit too quickly was that the defense was to blame, according to a lot of people, at the end of the collapse of the 2022 season, along with insurmountable concussions that Tua debatably took 2 or 3 that year. Who knows what the real number is, whether it was one, speculation on the other. I don't really know, but they always said that they attributed his shortcomings at quarterback were because of concussions and even playing potentially concussed at times or feeling the after effects, along with the defense not doing things. But that's okay. It was rookie head coach Mike McDaniel's first year. And from what we got in offensive production to what we're getting now in this first year with Mike McDaniel, good stuff. And we want to see if we can have a healthy Tua and double down on that in 2023. And they did. And boy, oh boy, did it work out. Not only did they double down, but those defensive issues, you know what they did? Do you guys know what they did? They brought an old head up in the building, a gangster, an OG. Who'd they bring in here, Ali? Who was that OG?
Vic Fangio.
And my old Miami Hurricane, bro.
Vic Fangio.
Oh, that guy. I thought you were talking about the other guy.
No. This is 2023 color. They brought in the Fan Man, dog. The Fangio. The Fan Man. He coming up in here. Big old Fan Man. What's good? And that was going to fix the defense. And man, I'll tell you what. That second year, Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa marriage was the honeymoon phase at its peak. It was beautiful. We loved it. 70 points. We were so good that our third stringers were racking up tutties. We had to gear down. We didn't have to gear down. We had to turn the engine off against the Broncos because we were going to break a single score record in a game and didn't want to do that. Just didn't want to. Thought it wasn't. We took the high road. That's how good we were. But what happened? If that's the case, how we started in 2023, how on earth with Vic Fangio in the building and Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel in this offense just completely on a upward trajectory that has Elon Musk wondering if he can get those types of numbers for his businesses. Dogecoin, playa. How did it come up short? Well, if you ask some people, Tua Tagovailoa wasn't even injured. He didn't even get injured. Full healthy year, baby. Full healthy year. What's good? All health out of Tua. That should be the thing. That's what could have worked. Needed to get somebody in here new to defense. Got a great person in here to run defense. Needed to double down on the offense and see what it is. And we're going to get Tua healthy. If he just stays healthy, how many times did I hear if Tua just stays healthy, we're in the Super Bowl. We're in the playoffs. We're winning the East.
And don't forget, that was only his first chance at a playoff. Wait till his second go around. Well, guess what? We're not getting a second go around this year.
Racing to the end again, Color. Racing to the end. Because what ended up happening ultimately at the 2023 season? All the things they told me at the end of the 2022 season that if it was corrected was going to bear the results of winning the East, winning playoff games, winning a Super Bowl, right decisions. Mike McDaniel got the Gucci glasses on, out here with shoes with tags on them and shit. Don't you know? We swagging our way to the top, baby. Miami style. What's good? So, that being said, it didn't happen? Why? Can you tell me why, boys? What ended up happening at the end of the season? We got the fan man in there, Tua healthy, and we put more assets into offense and defense. Like we did whatever we did it all, baby.
And when
we did it all.
And when we put all that into the back computer, it spit out 7 points in the playoff game.
Well, even before we got to, how did we not win the East, Color? How did we not?
Well, we had
weren't the Dolphins at some point?
Oh, I remember why. I remember why.
Why aren't we number one in that? Why weren't we AFC? Why weren't we number one in the
because
AFC?
all of that money couldn't buy us a first down against Tennessee.
Wait a second. First of all, you're incorrect. We didn't have it all, El Cap. We didn't have it at all at all. The biggest move came on the trade of Ramsey. That was the biggest move we made outside of Vic Fangio, right? Mm-hmm. So you had that, right? We had no depth anywhere. There was no depth on the offensive line, if you remember. There was no depth on the defensive line. We lost Chubb and we lost Jalen Phillips.
Wait a second, buddy.
Hold on. I'm not even done.
Because I want to say we went and got Isaiah Wynn, who worked out for us at guard. And I want to say Hunt was working out so good that we couldn't even afford to keep the guy.
Yeah, but who were behind them? And what happened?
Ali, what do you want? I got to have extra of everything?
5-6 games? Javon Holland missed 4 games? Come on, dude. We had no depth at all.
That is not what you said at the end of the 2022 season. That's not what I heard.
Yeah, but that's because Chris Greer and company are the best businessmen. And what that means is they are the best charlatan. And for people that don't know what a charlatan is, it's somebody that sells you fool's gold and you think it's gold and you're paying top dollar for trash. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are selling the fan base something
are you calling Mike McDaniel a carpetbagger?
Sure. In fact, he's the little monkey that's collecting the coin and handing it to Chris Greer and company. That's exactly what it is.
Who did that?
Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel. He's the one collecting the money and the weird looking guy.
Well, hold on. You're saying now. See, you boys can't. You guys want to talk today. We are in a cross. You keep taking points and trying. He ain't been paid yet at this point in 2022. How do he get now? Just wait now. All right.
In 2023, because we're on the 2023 season right now.
All right. Thank you. Yes, you're right. No problem. He wasn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. Homie was rocking the Gucci, rocking the drip, as everybody says. Mike McDrip out here. Remember, too, this team did the things at the end of the 2022 season that they said they needed to do. Now, if you want to talk about depth, they did address the depth. They went and got Isaiah Wynn. So I don't know what you're talking about. They still had Connor Williams then. Depth was fucking Eichenberg.
When it was not the depth, he was the starter. Don't forget that.
I got it, but Ali, they didn't tell me at 2022 depth was what did us in.
Well, obviously, when you have injuries, you can't. Teron Armstead can't play an entire season if his life depended on it, right? And then on the opposing side, what happened? I'm sorry. Let's not forget that. What's his name? Connor Williams goes out with an injury 4 games into the season, and Eichenberg has to be the center for the whole entire season after that. Let's not forget.
But I got you again. Even when Eichenberg came in, I think they scored 70 points with Eichenberg there. So what happened?
Okay, because it's
injuries didn't end the season. Because I'll tell you what, at the end of the 2023 season, the defense was injured mightily. And the defense did not lose them games. They kept them in games. Meanwhile, the offense got healthier and starters back the final 3 games, including the playoff game. I'm just saying, what exactly you're talking about depth. Ali, if depth is going to prevent you at any position at any given time, you got to have one motherfucker go down for everything to be scrapped. And we'll never get nothing done.
Can I just point out, hold on, Ali.
Go ahead.
You guys are doing it again. I keep trying to explain to you about the trick that they're pulling on you called a Mott and Bailey. Okay, I keep trying to explain to you all the Mott and Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Ali right now is down in the Bailey, trying to save the veggies right now.
I'm not saving any.
No, hold on. Let me finish. Okay, because I will not accept the fact that we had a problem with depth last year at the end of the season. You know why? Because I just looked at the same numbers. I've got them right here that I look at for every single game. You all know me. You know what numbers I'm looking at. And that number is 14%, Ali. That's how much pressure they put on Tua in that Kansas City playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. Bad throw percentage was 26.3%. So what I'm submitting to you is our depth did its job.
And I'm
tired of people ignoring that.
I'm telling you, it didn't. Let me ask you a question. You've seen it the last 3 weeks of this season. You've seen the decline of our run blocking passing grade.
There you go. You want to jump ahead. Do not jump ahead.
No, I'm not going to let you do this, El Cap. I'm not going to let you do this. The problem is, it's not just Chris Greer. It's not just Mike McDaniel. And it's not just Tua. It's the whole fucking show, right? You want to try to find the one person to blame. There isn't just one person.
Bullshit. It's the quarterback. Bullshit. It's the quarterback.
It's more
period. End of story. It's been the same story for 5 seasons. 5 seasons, bro. It's the quarterback.
People, you were one of the people that wanted Aaron Rodgers here, right? Aaron Rodgers would come here.
Am I?
Better than as we are now.
Am I one of the people that wanted Aaron Rodgers? You're just going to ascribe that to me because it fits your narrative?
Lamar Jackson, it does not matter.
That's right. That's right. And we would be playing in the playoffs this year if we had one of those guys.
I would say if we had one of those guys the last 2 years, we would be probably better off. But hey, who knows? We know Aaron Rodgers is falling off a cliff.
Bullshit.
Shout out to Carlos.
I'm tired of it. 5 seasons. It's the quarterback.
We're gonna get into it, boys.
I'm not backing down this year.
I don't blame you, Color, and we're gonna get into it.
Neither am I, Color. And neither am I.
Well,
Ali wants to blame everybody's
on your side, Ali.
And everybody
on your side for 5 years. It's everybody but the damn quarterback.
I'm telling you,
I'm telling you, it's nothing but the quarterback.
I would say this again. We're gonna continue on. We made it through Chris Greer.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Well, now we're going through it. We're gonna ask the questions.
Let's see what the fuck happens then.
Shout out to Carlos. I hate when people use the
with all
injury
the others
excuse
that have been trying for 5 years to convince me that it's anything but the quarterback.
Well, we had another quarterback named Skylar Thompson and Mike White.
Stop it, bro. Stop it.
Stop what?
I know you better than that, Ali. I know you better than that.
And I know you better than that.
I know you don't believe that.
Bro, I believe that it's not just the quarterback. It's a lot of different things, including the quarterback.
No, it's the quarterback. End of story.
So hold up.
I disagree
We're going
with
to find out. Well, okay. Again, let me continue with the exercise. So again, at the end of the 2022 season, I was told, now I'm sure depth is always the concern, right? As Carlos points out, teams have injuries, right? Teams do get injured. Teams have to overcome. And we're going to get into that. We're going to table that depth. But I would say, by and large, from 2022 to 2023, what they told us, healthy Tua and getting this defense with a better defensive coach, along with the adjustments, we're going to be successful. And all those things happened. All those things happened. And because those things happened, we saw the successes early in the season. But what happened towards the end? Couple of little stumbles, lost some games, but nothing to jump off the roof about until right around the Tennessee game. Things really fell off the rails. Now, when we're talking about Mike McDaniel being at fault, we're going to jump forward and look at this season along where things fell apart in the 2023 season. Because there's a timeline here where it looks eerily similar, and there's a lot of narratives being plugged in here, and they're not just narratives anymore when talking about Mike McDaniel and what he is producing. The analytics are lining up, and those analytics are, plainly put, Mike McDaniel has a 3-15 record against teams with a 500 or better record. Just to point it out, and shout out to the Kevin Harlan effect, one of the homies, nice guy. He points out a great little graph here. During the Mike McDaniel era, losses as the team is the favorite in the game. The Dolphins have 8 losses, and they are as such. In 2022, they were favored against the New York Jets. We lost by 3. In 2022, we were favored against, or I don't know if we lost by 3, but we were favored against the Chargers. We lost to them. In 2022, we were favored against the Packers. We lost. New England, 2022, we lost. 2023, Tennessee, heavy favorites. They gave us minus 13 in that game. We lost. And then this year, 2024, lost against Buffalo early in the year. 2024, lost against Tennessee. We were 2.5-point favorites in that game. And then Arizona, we lost against them. We were 4.5-point favors in that game. And that was at home too. So that one really, really stings. The only wins that we've had as underdogs against opponents that we were underdog, we've had 4 wins in the Mike McDaniel era. One of them came against Baltimore, and that was that fourth quarter comeback that Tua had and the Dolphins offense had in 2022. The other one was against Buffalo in 2022, the only time we've beat them. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. The Dolphins, I don't know if the Dolphins beat them as much as Josh Allen lost the game with that fucking throw at the end. Semantics, though, but we did beat them. They were 6.5-point favors. I would say if you're going by how they perform as an underdog against a really good opponent, that would we can talk about that. Next game that we were underdogs in won, 2023, first game of the year against the Chargers. They were favored by 3 points. They were at home, so really it was a fucking pick 'em if we're being real. And this year on the road against the Chargers, they were favored 2.5 points in their house. I would say out of all those 4 victories of underdog victories, hands down the most impressive one was his first year as a rookie head coach against Baltimore when they had that comeback. Hands down, it ain't even close. We have yet to see that type of performance against a good team. And notice about all of those games, minus the Rams game, that Chargers game, first game of the year. Baltimore game, I think that was the second game of the year. That Buffalo game, I think that was like the third game of the year, all early in the season. Right? We know this. We know these things. When you're looking to put blame on Mike McDaniel, he shares a lot of the responsibility for the failures of this football team. He's not the offensive coach. He's the head coach. Yes, we've seen great production in the scheme that we know the general manager, Chris Grier, is giving him carte blanche with the pocketbook and the picks and the trades to build this scheme. And both Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel have pivoted and hitched their wagon with what they hope is the next great thing in Miami at quarterback, in Tua Tagovailoa, that giving him these things and finding these reasons to give him these things. And ultimately, when the excuses come, when the failure comes in the end, they're giving us excuses as well. So that leads us to the final part of this entire exercise. We asked, is Chris Grier at fault for the failed rebuild? We asked, is Mike McDaniel to blame for the team's failure? Finally, we ask, is Tua to blame? Now, I'm going to open it back up to Ali and Color, because this ultimately, now we've come Chris Grier, his hits, his misses. We had a scolding article written by Barry Jackson about Chris Grier on why, from what I can see, he insinuates, implies, if you will, that Chris Grier is shouldering the bulk of this blame. We know. I'm going to throw it to you, Ali. We know where Mike McDaniel is to blame, because yes, you can say, and I'm going to make it extremely clear, because Mike McDaniel is getting it in a lot of getting attacked for a lot of different ways. And the reason that everyone is allowed to attack him is because his team is collapsing. His offense, that defense didn't collapse last year, and it didn't collapse this year. That offense is collapsing on cue later in the year. Teams have figured it out. From the end of last year to all of this year, it ain't hummed like it was. It freaking got cooking in 2022, got supercharged in 2023, and it has plateaued and leveled out where we have gotten zero more production from this offense. And every time, everything since the beginning in 2022 has been to build around Tua on Mike McDaniel's orders. That this is what's going to fix it. And the next order, like you say, Ali, will be to build it an O-line. And I say, when does the building fucking stop? Because if we're talking in a 6 years of a rebuild, if I got to get a 7th year to build more, I would say the rebuild is a fucking lost.
See, that's
that window is coming open.
This is what I
go ahead, boys. I'm gonna switch the screen
real quick
and let you boys have it out.
The build never stops. It's the NFL. They're not, next year is not the last season they're ever going to play. The build never stops.
It never stops.
What happens is when you get the quarterback, you start winning.
Okay.
Period.
So, Color, I want to address something real quick, because I think there's a misunderstanding in the chat of my position on this.
Oh, that's nothing new.
I understand. They're only taking one snippet of it, and they think that's what we're running with. They do the same.
I know they're the best at it.
Same thing to me, right? Let me explain
Please hit the like button, chat.
You soft people in the chat, because there's quite a few of you that sit there that think you know a lot and talking some shit that you have no idea about. What I'm referencing is it's not just Tua. Yes, Tua is a problem. I definitely agree. He has not played at the level that we drafted him. He has not really proven to me that he's the guy, in my opinion. And I'm at the point where I honestly think that there needs to be a massive change there. I agree with Color on that 100%. My position, though, is that he's not the only problem. And the problem starts, honestly, with Ross to Greer and downwards, because it's a whole philosophy problem that has to start with Ross and it has to work its way down.
Right.
And that is what the issue is. The issue that I have with the offensive line and some of the depth that we have. Yes, he fixed the problem on the defensive line, bringing in Chop. He went and got another Mo Kamara, which we didn't really get to see of. We got Calais Campbell. That's great. Okay. I don't disagree with those moves. I agree with pulling in Ramsey. He's done a lot of moves that are decent. And the defense was not the reason we lost the game, right?
Right.
The reason we lost the game, in my opinion, is a couple things. Number one, throwing picks. I'm sorry. He underthrew the ball, right? He had a wide open.
Are we back to assessing why we lost the game or why we have losing seasons?
They go hand in hand, because you can look at every game and there's like a similar situation.
Yeah, but you're always going to get them to say you're cherry picking, dude. So that's why I say you got to try to avoid that. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. The season, in my opinion, is that you tear the whole thing down. You went to rebuild it, right? And you didn't finish the build. You were so close. You could have finished the build with one or two moves. And you could have we would have nothing to say about how you draft, how you built the team, and everything, right?
So really quick.
I could solely say it was just on Tua, but it's not just on Tua.
Right, I got you. It's
like a big 70%.
I got you. Okay, but I think what's happening is we're talking over each other. We're both talking about two different things.
I got you.
So you're right about everything you said. So everybody in the chat saying Ollie don't know shit, pipe down. He knows what he's talking about. Okay. Secondly, what I'm saying, Ollie, is when I say that it's the quarterback is the problem number one. I'm not talking about assigning blame to who is causing us to lose and this or that or the other. The person that put that inferior quarterback on the field is the one that causes us to lose ultimately. Okay, it's not on the player. When I'm trying to make an assessment of the 53 guys and find out where our issues are at because of the inferior play at quarterback, I can't make that determination. Okay, so when I have to decide what do I remove and change out first, I can't. We can sit here and talk and argue till we're blue in the face whether the defense is good or not, whether they were in this moment or that moment good or not, whether this or that move was the great move or not, or whatever. We can argue all that, but none of it the reason we keep arguing about it is because none of us can make an accurate, clear assessment until we know that we got a quarterback. Because half the shit that we have problems on our team could go away just from having a real deal quarterback. We don't know what those things are. So to sit here and argue about what those things are and say, well, yeah, we've got all kinds of other problems besides Tua. None of them can even be looked at until we remove problem number one.
Well,
then we can decide how many of those other issues are problems or were they symptoms of the problem, which is a bad quarterback.
Well, Color, with that, we're going to get into, is Tua to blame? And just like I did with McDaniel for, I don't know, 40 minutes, just
Really
like I
quick,
did
I don't need
with
to
Chris
explain
Greer
Joe
for like
Burrow.
40
Joe
minutes.
Burrow's not my quarterback.
I don't need to talk about Joe Burrow. We're not going to. I'm going to give these metrics and these things. We're going to put the context of facts behind everything. We've gotten off the rails this way and that way because we get bogged down in this game or this season or, this or that or all the way around. I think as far as when we're talking general manager, details, and his track record, plus how we looked at it, minus how we looked at it, Mike McDaniel, his track record, what he's responsible for, the pluses, the minuses, the facts. Now we're going to do the same with Tua. So we can quickly say Tua, rough start to his career. Mike with Flo coming in injured, COVID year. We're not going to talk about the first 2 years. We're going to go with Mike McDaniel comes in, rebuilding Tua's confidence, and in that year, Tua played very well on a bounce back type of thing. Shamefully, that's his third year playing. The type of production, type of growth, and the type of things we wanted and needed to see from a 5th overall pick didn't come with decent evaluation until his third year, losing the first 2 years. Now, we could double back and say that's probably more. It's not on Mike McDaniel. He wasn't here. Tua, you can blame some of it on him, but ultimately what you can blame it on the most is Chris Greer for those first 2 years. Because whether or not Tua was the right choice or whether or not Brian Flores was the right choice, the wrong choice was made by Greer to put them two together. And that's all that needs to be said. But let's move forward. 2023, Greer makes up for wrongs. 2022, Greer makes up for wrongs and finds a coach that swears to him that this is the guy. He comes in, does things to make him the guy. They get Tyreek Hill to make him the guy. And it works. 2022, working. Couple years late. But I think with the progression and what we saw, we thought, hell yeah, we're back on track in 2022. Concussions. Nasty, ugly, the worst type of scenario you could ask for. But Mike McDaniel pounds the table, says, bring me Tua Tagovailoa and everything and then some. He is him, and we can get it going. And now I'm going to read the article as we know what happened with the failures. Tua Tagovailoa, healthy all year, did not play well at the end of the year. A lot of these narratives of can't play in cold weather, doesn't have a weatherproof arm, isn't strong, all of those things said, and no way to refute them at the end of the 2023 season that Tua was healthy for. But the excuses will be made, and they continue to do so. And we saw everybody get paid for the shortcomings in 2023, got paid to stay here in 2024. In which case, when we're paying Tua and we're paying Mike McDaniel and we're paying the weapons for Tua and the wide receivers and paying Mike McDaniel, who wants the weapons for the quarterback, they share that weight of blame for whatever failures we're having this year. I don't give a damn about the concussions resurfacing. You all told just because 1 year was put together doesn't mean y'all could stack surprise on a concussion now. So Chris Greer bears that blame for signing his name. Mike McDaniel, who went to the owner behind Chris Greer's back, shoulders more of it. Tua Tagovailoa not delivering, shoulders his. And now we begin the Tua Tagovailoa. Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald, formerly of the Sun Sentinel, formerly of the Pivot Podcast, formerly of Dolphins,
formerly of
beat,
every other credible news organization.
Dolphins beat for SI, formerly of Omar Kelly issues, formerly Omar Kelly on X, formerly free agent Omar Kelly, now Omar Kelly, Miami Herald. Title of this is Tua Tagovailoa delivers more proof he isn't him. Now, before I get into this article, I just want to point out Omar Kelly, the last, year and a half, has completely switched up. He's always remained pretty fair. But I'll be honest, since being back with the Herald, has been a staunch Tua supporter. Was a Tua denier and hater in the beginning, then a guy who fought for Tua's equality, for back of a better term, to then remaining fair, to now, since signing with the Herald, been a guy who has championed Tua, fought back against people, calling people haters on Twitter, and that's part of his gig. I'm about it, Dow. I get it. But this switch up with a title, Tua Tagovailoa delivers more proof he isn't him, is a big-time switch up for the Omar Kelly we've come to know the last 10 months. Yet another clutch game choke job, Omar Kelly writes. That's the only accurate way to summarize what the Miami Dolphins did Sunday's critical must-win game against the Houston Texans, which turned into a 20-12 loss when the offense kept spitting up on itself in scoring territory. That's the best way to describe it, to describe the 3 interceptions and 1 fumble day by Tua Tagovailoa at NRG Stadium. In a contest that will likely eliminate the Miami Dolphins from playoff contention now that the Dolphins' 10-win season is not even possible. Like most of the season and most of the NFL career, like most of the season and most of his, meaning Tua Tagovailoa's NFL career, when the Dolphins needed Tua to put the cape on and play superhero in a game where the rushing attack was again limp at 2.7 yards per carry on 19 attempts, and the offensive line featuring 2 backups at offensive tackles who have now collectively started 8 games. The Miami Dolphins' 5th-year quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, was lackluster in his performance. I just want to point out that one of those 2 backup tackles is the guy that's going to be playing the starting role, probably, if not for the remainder of the season, definitely next season. Just adding a little context. The former University of Miami, there's me projecting. The former University of Alabama standout was far from the version of him that Tagovailoa was just bragging about this weekend when presented his high school jersey by a friend and teammate, Anthony Walker Jr., as a Christmas gift. Tua Tagovailoa had this to say upon receiving the gift. I had the opportunity to drive our offense to potentially tie up the game. Or excuse me, this isn't a quote when he received the gift. The quote that's not in here when he received the gift was, "I was him in high school." He was excited. Good gift. This is what Tua had to say about the game. My fault. I had the opportunity to drive our offense to potentially tie the game up. And that's not what I did, Tagovailoa said, referring to the offense's final drive, which ended up in a deep pass thrown to Tyreek Hill that was intercepted by Derek Stingley Jr. Now, I just want to say, when I say deep pass, that pass was literally, and I know for a fact, 23 to 24 yards. So I guess we can call it a deep pass. And we're going to get into some of this deep pass stuff after this article. Tyreek Hill was after one of the league's top young cornerbacks snatched the ball from Hill's hands and brought it down for a turnover in the game's final 2 minutes. That's not how you win games in this league, said Tagovailoa, who finished the game with 29 completions on 40 pass attempts for a total of 196 yards, 3 interceptions. I'm very disappointed with how I played today and how I conducted myself on the field with our guys and our team. I just need to be better in all aspects, Tua says. A lot of people were championing Tua, saying these things, saying this is what leadership looks like, accountability. I would say that you better say that because there's no lying your way through it. Leadership and accountability is really nice. But I'm not going to clap my hands and applaud when he just got up there and didn't lie. Those are the facts. And believe me, there will be plenty of people throwing excuses for Tua that I know he probably doesn't make for himself. But I don't. Whatever. Tua was consistently harassed, primarily because of the poor performance of the offensive line. 3 sacks allowed. Whose ineptness had typically been masked by Tagovailoa's quick trigger. So, according to Omar Kelly here, offensive line's to blame for a lot of the problems, as Ali pointed out, with the depth problems we have. And that Tua has been the reason we've been playing good all along anyhow because of the terrible O-line. That's a narrative I know Omar Kelly is super excited to squeeze in there. A guy who likes trench play, prides himself on a trench play loving guy. I would say, Omar Kelly, if you were listening or this did get to you, that this O-line's built exactly like they wanted, buddy. Ask Mike McDaniel. Ask Chris Greer.
Bro, I find it hilariously ironic that his fans are blessing him and praising him for taking accountability while they're out there claiming that none of it was his fault.
Well, you know how that works.
Isn't that amazing? So they're gonna claim victory by saying none of it was his fault, and then they're gonna glorify him by saying, "Look how the leader takes accountability." Yeah, accountability you won't even let him take.
So again, Color, this is the first part, right? He's giving you a story sandwich here. This is a common tactic with article writers, news writers, and it's a good way. You start with what it's about. You give your take on it and a couple of things, and then you give a counter argument to your take, and then you bring it home with the shit sandwich on the other side. So it's a word sandwich, essentially. He then goes on to say, again, giving context to why Tua's performance and why he is not him. He says this, but not on this day, not on this game against the NFL's best pass rushing defense, especially with rookie Patrick Paul at left tackle replacing Teron Armstead, who's out with a knee injury, and Jackson Carman, a third-year player elevated to Miami's practice squad a month ago. He played at right tackle for injured Kendall Lamb, who's been dealing with a back injury. He is an aging 10-year veteran. I just want to point out Jackson Carman was picked in the 2nd round and probably will be here next year on the line, just so everybody knows, as a swing guy. Anyhow, Miami's dink and dunk offense failed to deliver on critical downs and in scoring territory. Tagovailoa threw 2 of his interceptions on 3rd down throws in scoring territory on passes intended for his number 1 target in Tyreek Hill. We just didn't execute as an offense. We had some tremendous drives. We just weren't able to finish them, Hill said. I wonder if Hill's been listening to your show, Color, talking about execution. I guess we'll continue. We just weren't there today.
Well, he was referring to the walled garden.
That's true. We just weren't there today, and you could see it. It starts with all of us, not just one. Those turnovers are on all of us. Ball placement not being right in the right spot, all of us. No need to point the finger at anybody. He says nobody, but I switched it for him. We point the finger at ourselves, and we get better from it. Leader, Tyreek Hill. Now, for everyone that wants to say Tyreek Hill was a bad decision to extend, should have never got him, blah, 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 blah. That's all brand new talk because the last 2 years and up until about week 3, as soon as Tua went out and Tyreek Hill wasn't effective, did this talk start. I don't want to hear how the guy who was the number 1 player in the NFL now having a little bit of a regression year has been the problem when we're talking about the calculus of Tua, Mike McDaniel, and Chris Greer. Tyreek Hill is not in that calculus. He can be the problem in some games, but he ain't the problem for this team's losing, especially not late in the year. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. You can talk about him not showing up, fine. But you could also talk about him carrying the team with how much showing up he's doing when he does. Either way. The 60% rating for Tagovailoa was his second worst of the season, trailing only his 56.7 passer rating in the Week 2 loss against the Buffalo Bills, which happens to be the game he suffered the concussion that sidelined him for a month. Tagovailoa has had only 4 games with a worse passer rating than 60. So the problem is it has become the common theme for the Miami Dolphins in every big game, every contest where the season is on the line, or Miami has the opportunity to silence one of the team's unfavorable narratives. During the Mike McDaniel era, which coincides with the Tagovailoa's best seasons, the Dolphins have a 3-17 record against playoff teams. This season, the Miami Dolphins are 0-5 against teams with playoff implications. And that record won't change unless the LA Rams, which Miami beat on the road last month, slide into an NFC wildcard spot, which maybe they do. Thank goodness for small favors. One of only 4 games.
Wait. Are you saying that we have to hope for help now?
You have to hope for help.
Beat a team that went to the playoffs? Oh, my God, dude. Wow.
That's right, Color. Well, it's going to help hurt a narrative because then people will go, well, at least we beat the Rams. What are you talking about, baby?
Color, if you really think about it, as I've been saying all year long, and even last year, I've been saying that this organization and the people at the top are selling hope. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They are delivering. They have delivered us a season where we're living on hope, and that's it.
I don't know about. There's no hope now, Ali.
Well,
we ain't getting in the playoffs.
Technically, there is.
Again, Ali.
No.
We were falling into the playoffs. Now we're falling into beating a team that falls into the playoffs.
Yeah, we're again
playoffs now. I don't even want to. No matter what.
Who would, Ali? Who would?
We lost to the fucking Colts, which is the most embarrassing thing to me in ever, right? And the fact that Houston didn't even want to win the fucking game on Sunday. They were handing the game to us, bro. I don't understand.
I don't know about that. I think the defense really just showed up in a big way. I don't know how much handing
was on 3 points below their season average.
Look, let's be real, right? Yeah, I'm blaming Chris Greer because he's the one that drafted Tua, and he ultimately he's the reason why Tua has the long-term contract. But if we're gonna blame Tua, it's definitely his fault because you know what? He probably didn't even want to win the game anyway. He wanted to go home and play golf, probably. That's probably what it is.
Damn.
I don't know. That or go for some photo shoot for whatever clothing line that no one wants to buy or something like that. Who knows? I have no... God, this team pisses me off, bro. I'm sorry.
Ali's like a loaded weapon over here, bro. All right, let's get back to it. The article continues and wraps up rather nicely here at the end. Says, at some point we have to stop making excuses for Tagovailoa. But that conversation should start when this franchise puts a better team around him. One with a competent run game and deeper, healthier offensive linemen, which doesn't force him into constantly making the best out of bad situations. Quote, be a man, own your mistakes, get better from them. It'll make the team better, Hill said when asked about the final stretch of games. No need to sit in self-pity and feel sorry for yourself because that's not what real men do. Real men own their mistakes and get better from it and move on from it. End quote. So, a very deceptive title because as Omar Kelly dips his toes into questioning whether Tua is him or not, he made certain to make it very clear that we can't even say that, baby. We need a real running game. We need a real O-line. We need depth. We need these things. And I will say to you, the same decisions plaguing the organization on these things needing to happen to get, like you said, Color, a true litmus of what we can judge Tua on was the same scenario with different issues last year, same scenario with different issues the year before, and will continue to be until it works, and then they'll say, he did it, not the things got fixed. The problem is you can't fix the things so easily when you pay a quarterback. And I just want to point out something that I was going to do a small pre-recorded show not too long ago, before the last game, after the Jets win, that I tabled. I said, I'll just wait. So I'm going to do it now, very quickly. This team is tailor-made to Tua Tagovailoa. You can argue it if you want, but the facts are that this offense is tailor-made for him. And that tailor-made offense knows when it's working what they can get out of it. And what they can get out of it is performance like against the Raiders last year, like against the Broncos last year, like against the Carolina Panthers last year. Those types of big performances, they know they can get out of this offense when it's doing its best. Tailor-made for this player. Quarterback one, whom they paid. A hefty amount. Whom we have hitched our wagon financially for years to come. The problem is that you're asking for a lot of things to become perfect, to be perfect when you tailor make a system for any one player. And when Tua's not there, you've seen what that looks like. This system is not plug and play and insert next guy. It is so perfectly made suit for him to wear out there that no one can get in there. We had 3 different quarterbacks try, and it all looked exactly the same until Tyler Huntley got more time, and you noticed noticeable changes to philosophy.
Yeah, and he had to learn how to dial his arm back to do it. That's the whole
noticeable changes in philosophy with the team in the run game, and it took a couple weeks for that to happen, and it carried over a couple weeks after Tua got back, that type of run game. But since has been tabled The run game everyone's been talking about, wishing we can go to, has been tabled for the practicing and the preparation and the usage on game day for the quarterback to do what he does best. Because that's how they built this team. That's what they believe is the best shot to win. They believed it so much they thought Skylar could do it. They believed it so much they made Huntley do it. And it was ugly. It was so ugly. So, I just want to point a couple of things out. This tailor-made offense, you can't survive in. This is what the Dolphins are learning right now. This tailor-made offense that they thought they could get last year's Broncos performance out of, they can't survive on it. They can't. And I'm going to pull something up here. I just want to show you guys a little bit of an exercise. This right here is Miami Dolphins week 13 against the Packers. Now, we lost this game. Now, taking context out of the loss in the game, because to me, right? To me, these numbers are skewed that we're going to go through, because most of these numbers came well after they failed to keep a pace with the Packers offense.
It looks like one of them Christmas trees that people buy that are all messed up and not perfectly formed. You know what I mean?
Well, let me get into it. I'm not going to again. A lot of these numbers that we're going to go through, and a lot of what I'm going to go through right now, is a little skewed because a lot of this came after they let up on defense and started letting us move the ball down the field and choosing to keep us out of the end zone. And then they were having their way with us on offense, in the third quarter to just – I mean, listen, I'm not going to go into context. I just want to point these things out real quick. On this day, in a loss against the Green Bay Packers, Tua Tagovailoa was 37 of 46. He threw for 2 touchdowns and gathered 365 yards on those 2 touchdowns and on the day. That performance came up short. Now, what did that look like on the field of play? Tua completed 5 passes of those 37 at or behind the line of scrimmage, 1 which resulted into a touchdown, and there was only 1 incompletion. From the range of the line of scrimmage to 5 yards downfield, Tua completed 12 of those passes, only 1 incompletion. So right now, behind the line of scrimmage and to the 5 yards down the field, Tua's 17 of 19. 1 touchdown. Let's continue. From 5 yards downfield to 10 yards downfield, Tua completed 10 passes there. 1 of those went for a touchdown as well. He only had 2 incompletions that went 10 yards down, up to 10 yards down the field, between the 5 and 10 mark. So, Color, what's that mean? He's only got 4 incompletions, and he's got 27 of the 37 completions inside 10 yards.
We're getting close to that brick wall. You're a little kid in your walled garden, and you're getting close to that wall, and you think you might want to climb the wall and peek out at what's on the other side,
Yep, but it gets scary out there.
And you're like, I don't know if mama catches me climbing this wall to peek over and see what's on the other. I don't know. So we're getting to that spot right now, Cap, basically.
All right. So, from the range of 5 to 15 yards, 6 completions, Color. Only 1 incompletion. Really good. Again, good day for Tua so far. 37 of 46, 365 yards, 2 touchdowns, a loss. People were saying Tua is the GOAT after this. They were talking about Tua on his way for MVP after this performance.
So
in a loss. Hold on. So he
had
has
to
now
go run over the fence a couple times to grab his football that he threw over the fence, so he can do that. All right.
So 10 to 15 yards, 6 completions, 1 incompletion. Right now, Tua has only 5 incompletions, and he has, 31 completions.
Okay.
5 incompletions, 31 completions. 5 incompletions, 31 incompletions.
So that leaves 15
from behind the line to
left.
15 yards to the 15-yard line.
Right. So that leaves 15 incompletions unaccounted for so far.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, you said he had 31 completions so far we've counted.
Yes.
Right. He had 46 attempts. So we have to account for 15 more incompletions.
No, Color. No.
I mean, no, I'm
37
sorry.
out of 46.
6 more.
Yeah.
6 more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. 6 more throws.
Right.
15 to 20-yard range. Tua hit 4 of those. 2 of which 2 incompletions.
Oh, really?
So from 15 to 20 yards, once we get past the 15-yard line, he completed 4 of them, but 2 were incomplete. He only had 2 throws that went over 20 yards, and both were incompletions.
So those are lost footballs. Those he threw into the canal.
So when we're looking at the operations of this offense on a day in which it highly was efficient towards the end of the game, and all the metrics that everybody really wants to delve into, saying, wow, 265 yards and 2 touchdowns on 37 completions with only 46 attempts. Tua did his thing, is what they will say. But I will say this, Tua did his thing up to 15 yards downfield, because after that it got shaky, and anything beyond 20 was not happening.
Right.
So let us continue. Let me see if I can find it. All right. So now,
uglier Christmas tree.
So now, this is the Jets game. Now the Dolphins did win this Jets game, but if you guys are reminded of how the Jets game kind of went, right? Went eerily similar to the Packers game. Couldn't get nothing going offensively in the first half. Defense kept them around as best they could for all the game, and the Dolphins able to tie it up and take it into overtime at 26 points, in which then the Miami and Tua Tagovailoa finally found a real forceful drive for the first time all game and went all the way down the field and made a touchdown. Tua on the day with that extra possession in overtime to seal the victory at home against the Jets. He was 33 of 47, 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Now, not completing as good as he did the prior game. And it showed in the game and how ineffective the offense was, ultimately tying the game at the end with 26 points and needing to go into overtime to get it. And again, some of those yards, that last touchdown, and some of them completions all come off the board if the Dolphins didn't tie that game up and get in there. But I'm not going to hold that against them. So let's go into it. On the day against the Jets in a victory, at or behind the line of scrimmage, Tua Tagovailoa had 11 completions and 3 incompletions. From the line of scrimmage to the 5-yard line, Tua completed 5 passes in that range with only 1 incompletion. So right now, currently, behind the line to the 5-yard line, Tua's got 16 completions and 4 incompletions. Now, I just want to point out that he only had 47 attempts, and nearly half of which are 5 yards or less. But I'll continue. From the 5-yard to the 10-yard, Tua completed 11 passes in that range, one of which went for a touchdown and only had 1 incompletion. So I'm going to hold it right here for a second. 27 completions with 5 incompletions for a total of 32 attempts from 10 yards to behind the line of scrimmage. 1 touchdown. I will repeat. 27 completions, 5 incompletions, total of 32 attempts, 1 touchdown, 10 yards or less, and behind the line. Listen, that means there's only 15 more attempts from 10 yards or more. Do y'all hear what I just fucking said? In that Jets win that took us to get into overtime to beat them, the ball only traveled beyond 10 yards from the line of scrimmage 15 times of 47 attempts.
Yep.
Wow.
Now let's listen to what happened with those 15 attempts. From 10 yards to 15 yards, Tua threw the ball 6 times out of those 15, 3 of which were caught, 1 which went for a touchdown. The other 3 were incompletions. From 15 yards to 20 yards, Tua threw the ball 6 more times. They caught 3 of those and dropped or incompleted 3 other ones, and only threw the ball once over 20 yards downfield, and that was an incompletion. So with the 15 remaining passes, they did get a touchdown, but I just want to point out less than 50% on those. No, excuse me, my fault. 60% on 10 yards plus down the field. He's hitting 60% against the Jets with no Sauce Gardner and no fucking Mosley. 10 yards down the field, he's hitting 60%. Terrible. Let's switch to yesterday's performance. And this is where, when you look at the performance from what he got in the Packers and what they worked with to get all those yards. Again, what was it? 27 completions with, hold on, 27 completions with 31 attempts inside 10 yards. Okay? Against the Packers. We also have 27 completions on 31 attempts. Wow. Or 32 attempts, excuse me, inside 10. So look at that. Little bit of number crunching there. 32 passes thrown inside 10 yards out of the 40-something he had in the Jets, and 32 passes or 31 or whatever the hell it was against the Packers. So let's get to this last game that we just seen yesterday. Now, the Dolphins did lose this game. Not a decent performance at all by Tua Tagovailoa. And I think he would admit that. But let's look at the numbers. Now, 40 attempts on this one. He had what, 37 and 47 and 42 in the past. So he's getting the attempts. Those are the attempts numbers. 29 of 40, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. In this game, at or behind the line of scrimmage, they threw the ball 15 times. He completed 14 of them. Only 1 incompletion at or behind the line of scrimmage, color. But 15 times. Now, we know that the run is supplemented by this. So it is what it is. The numbers are always going to be a little skewed. Just like the numbers when Tua gets 365 yards and 2 touchdowns and a win, those numbers are skewed because of all these short passes. But people don't want to talk about that.
Which one of those red dots on the right was the
we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. So from 5 yards to the line of scrimmage, 5 were caught. Only 1 incompletion. Pretty good right now. From 5 yards to behind the line of scrimmage, the Dolphins have now thrown 21 footballs out of the 40. More than half of the attempts have been 5 yards or less or behind the line. 5 yards to negative yardage on 51% of your pass attempts yesterday. Okay. Between yards 5 and 10, Tua's still staying pretty accurate, just like the other games. 8 completed in that range. Only 1 incompletion. So right now, let's just do a little quick math. Carry the weight 21, 22, 30. 30 of the 40 passes thrown were 10 yards or all the way to negative yardage. 30 of the 40 passes thrown in yesterday's game were all 10 yards or shorter. And guess what? Only 3 incompletions, crushing it. Completely smacking it out of the park with that 75% accuracy range that everybody loves to talk about. Well, let's get into it.
Didn't you see? They, like Jermaine said, they shut down the deep ball. So I guess 11 yards is a deep ball now.
Yep, I guess anything. Okay, yeah, 11 yards is a deep ball, color. That's deep. Let's continue, right? From 10 to the 15-yard range, Tua had 3 completions, one of which went for a touchdown. That's good. He had 5 incompletions, though.
Oh, man, are you saying they shutting down the deep ball?
Listen, I'm just saying, after 10 yards, color, after 10 yards, Tua had 3 completions, 5 incompletions, 2 interceptions inside 15 yards. Crazy enough, they only had 1 pass that went over 20. And
womp, womp, womp.
That one came intercepted.
Is that other red dot there deep down?
That's the one at the top. That's right. Okay, that's the one that he threw. That's the only 20-yard plus pass he threw of the game. Was the first pass on that series where they needed to go out and win it, and they couldn't because he threw a short pass, tried to back shoulder, I guess. I don't know what he was thinking. I feel like he just short armed it, probably because they haven't asked him to push the ball 20 yards down the field but 5 times in the last 3 weeks.
So the short one down the sideline, the interception was the one to Tyreek that everybody's been talking about, right?
No, the long one was the interception to Tyreek. Oh, the short one was the one that came in the red zone. And the one in the middle he threw right to the whatchamacallit, right to the safety.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about which one of those red dots is the one
that ended the game.
No. Yeah, I guess it did end the game. Yeah.
The one that ended the game
Tyreek,
is
not the controversial Tyreek jump ball.
Oh, well then, yes. The jump ball Tyreek was the top one.
The
target to Tyreek that got sniped by Stinkland is the other one.
Gotcha. Because everybody keeps arguing whether underthrow, blah, 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 yakety schmackety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one that's lower, the one that's only at the 15-yard range, that ball took 3 centuries to get to its target, dude.
It did.
Okay. And you could talk about that ball was underthrown by way of velocity. Okay. And secondly, because that was a clean interception.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm pointing this out is people are claiming that, they figured this out. They shut down the deep ball, and McDaniel's answer was this. That's what somebody just said in chat, right? And what I'm saying is, how can we sit here and talk about McDaniel getting the deep ball shut down when our quarterback is making throws like that? Because, by the way, on that play, I don't know if y'all saw the all-22, but on that play, you had Waddle on the other side of the field between the hash mark and the sideline with 2 steps on a single coverage defender for the house if Tua wanted to throw that ball.
Yeah.
Right.
Colin, I got a really hot take on why this deep ball isn't working, because I heard that too. Even Tyreek said it out of his mouth that they have tape on us. They're putting 2 safety high. They're shutting it down. So
the deep ball forever.
Hold on. If you notice, even some of the not so 20 yards or more throws have been kind of lackluster, where Tua used to be able to hit them no problem. Has losing all the weight, has he lost muscle mass?
No, bro. He's always thrown that way, Ali.
No. Hear me out. Go back and look at all the throws and completions.
Ali, I don't even want to start on that bullshit right
500,000
now.
throws like that, bro.
Y'all
keep
wanting to open. Listen, we can do more shows.
Noodle, that's all I'm saying.
I got you. We can discuss your noodle later.
I know you want to discuss my noodle, but that's okay. We'll talk about it later.
No problem. These are the facts, people.
Well, quickly, Cap, I just wanted to land on the point I was originally trying to make, is that you can't just shut down the deep ball forever. Okay? There is always going to be a guy one-on-one with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they added a 13th guy to the field to shut down the deep ball.
I agree with that 100%, Color.
Your quarterback has to find other options to get through that coverage.
Your just paid quarterback has to do something. Your just paid coach has to do something. They have the weapons. Do it.
And when
don't give me all the reasons it's not happening.
And when you've got your 1B wide receiver streaking down the field with 2 steps on his defender, and you're throwing to taking 3 days to get the ball 25 yards out to Tyreek Hill just to have it intercepted.
Yeah. Again,
that's target, not McDaniel. That's not McDaniel.
I know it's not right.
That's all I'm saying.
The targeting Tyreek was the right call. He just shorted the ball. If he puts the ball another 2 yards out in front,
that's made.
It's another 2 yards. Tyreek's still running.
But here's
more yards.
The right throw is the completion that's made. Period.
I agree with that.
The completion was there. He underthrew it.
I'm talking about, bro. Tyreek, the defender was in front of Tyreek. He came across the field to intercept the ball cleanly.
Color. No, he
So
wasn't. Watch it again because Tyreek had a step on him, and the safety hadn't even started coming downhill. If he puts the ball 2 feet out and Hill doesn't have to slow down and jump up for the
I'm not
ball.
talking about that play.
Okay, well, Color, I'm not talking about that play that you're talking about. So
I
what are we talking
understand. In
about?
the play that I'm talking about, there was a wide open Jalen Waddle on the
Got
other
you.
side of
I
the
don't want to
field.
discuss that play. I don't even want to discuss these plays
Well,
at all.
it's to the crux of the point that there is nothing Mike McDaniel can do to scheme out of that.
And I would say equally, there's nothing Mike McDaniel could do to draw up a better play when on the
That's
second
all I was trying to
interception
play.
that was streaking out. Again,
That's all I was
now,
trying to say. I
gotcha.
wasn't trying to nitpick individual plays. I'm simply giving an example of how McDaniel cannot help that.
That's
So-
true.
So
Well, hold up.
your Color, but to your point, what you said earlier about that, yeah, they may shut the long ball down momentarily, but it's not shut down forever, right? I watched other games this year where we have two safety high, but they're still throwing the ball super long. The only thing that tells me what the difference is that their quarterback has the ability to throw the ball, further than mine. That's the
Either
only
has the ability to throw further, fit it into tighter windows.
And they're not
deeper.
afraid of a 69% completion rate.
All right,
I know.
so-
That's
and,
right.
And I would say a couple of things could be true too, boys. They have quarterbacks that have stronger arms that could fit tighter windows downfield further. We just went over the numbers. Very few's going over 10 yards. Less is over 15, and almost nothing over 20 in the last couple of games. And everything from 15 beyond has been 50% at best. And all the interceptions have come in those zones. My point is, right, plenty to blame with Tua and his performances. Plenty to blame with McDaniel for hitching his wagon, thinking he can fix these types of shortcomings that still have been around since the jump on Tua. Just the facts. That's it. But when we're talking about blame, and the title of the show is it time to say the Dolphins, or is it time for the Dolphins to admit that the rebuild didn't work? That potentially Tua's a bust. That Chris
I think overall the
is
rebuild
at fault.
is fine. I think the rebuild is on parity with every other team in the league. I don't see anything wrong with the rebuild except the quarterback.
Okay.
I'm not saying we don't have problems. I'm not saying we don't continue to get better positionally everywhere we can based on how we need to manipulate the salary cap and the rules of the NFL and all that. But I believe that we are on parity with every team in the league. And I don't see any reason to say that our rebuild has failed other than the fact that the quarterback we have cannot operate it.
What about you, Ali? Is it the quarterback?
As I said before, the quarterback is a huge portion of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, it is up to Chris Greer who is responsible for said quarterback to be in the position that he's in. He's also responsible.
Now that statement I agree with you on.
He's also,
Let him land. Let him land.
He's also responsible for said players that he has brought in as part of this build. You mentioned that we're on parity with any other team. Positionally, I agree. However, I disagree when it comes to talent-wise. I disagree. Players, the offensive linemen that they've brought, other teams have brought in better. Look at the corner, Cam Smith, right?
Okay.
You and I both know.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Parity doesn't mean you pick out the teams that brought in better offensive linemen and say other teams have brought in better. Look at their wait a minute. Look at their cornerbacks. How do you know they didn't compromise there? Parity means even. Parity means equity. It means that we are virtually the same as every other NFL team.
Okay, what I'm talking about is positionally they're the same. How they build their team and everything.
But I feel that you completely missed the point about parity.
All right, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I get you.
You can take the majority of NFL teams that are run by decent organizations that have your average roster, and you can put Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes,
Mhm.
Bo Nix on that team and have success. You know how I know this? Because what has changed in Denver from the time we put 70 points on them till now? What's changed?
Well, obviously the quarterback, they didn't have
You're
it.
telling me that they've got such an awesome GM and head coach that they can turn around a 70-point defensive performance in less than 6 months to be more competitive than the team that put 70 points on them.
I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point.
That's the only point. That's
That's
Bo
the only
Nix.
point.
That is Bo Nix. Bo Nix. Bo Nix. That is Bo Nix.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with you, Color. What I'm just trying to explain is that when you look at it, the talent that's on this team, who's responsible for that is Chris Grier. And Chris Grier has missed on several opportunities to bring in talent that could help our team. Specifically, we'll talk about Cam Smith.
You're right.
You brought up You brought in Tyreek Stevenson earlier, right? Guess what? He had a pick tonight. Did you know that? He had a pick tonight.
I would have guessed it.
Yeah, I would have guessed it too. My point is that was a pick he completely whiffed on. The Tyndall pick completely whiffed on. The wide receiver we got completely whiffed on.
I don't disagree with you, bro.
And this is why I blame him. Not all of it. I do blame two of the big portion. I get you. But who's bringing in these players? You can't run this system if you don't draft properly. And the fact that we've reduced the amount of draft picks we had because of all the other flunders that our owner and
I'm not trying to disrespect you. I've just heard these points so many times over the last 4 seasons, bro, that I know them like the back of my hand.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is, okay, we just saw a coach get fired, and the owner said for the reasons that he was not willing to be collaborative with the rest of the team, with the rest of the group. Okay. So we cannot sit here and make the assertion that everybody in that draft room wasn't on board and checking off on Cam Smith. We can't just sit here and say we know who picked who. Eric Izukama, first interview he gave, said Wes Welker picked him. Did we forget that?
Mike McDaniel also stated that his pick that he wanted was
okay, but is Grier not supposed to? Hold on. Is Chris Grier, you're really telling me that Chris Grier would be a better GM if he did not take the advice of Wes Welker and draft Eric Izukama?
I didn't say that, but did he?
Well, who was he supposed to trust besides Wes Welker? Fire Wes Welker, bring in another wide receiver coach and ask him?
Color, who makes the pick ultimately? Is it Wes Welker or Chris Grier?
According to Ross, it is the group. It is consensus.
But just because they tell you something, does that make it true?
Oh, we're going to do that now. Okay, I got you.
Well, I'm just saying because, like,
you let me know which words you believe out of their mouth, and I'll write them down so I don't know. So I don't cross that up when I'm debating you. You write down all of the stuff that you think are not lies that come out of their mouth, and let me know so I can put that all on a list and know. Well, I can't bring that up because Ali thinks they're lying about that. Come on, man. You can only go by what the billionaire owner told us.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and be quiet from now on because every time I try to land, Color cuts me off. So I'm just going to sit here and wait.
Yeah, we're going to do that now, too. All right.
Let them land, Color.
Oh, shut up. I'll leave now.
Okay, Color.
I'm just going to leave, bro. I'm just going to leave, man.
I'm just
going to leave, bro.
No, too late.
Yeah, goodbye. Now you don't have to worry about being talked over.
Well.
Oh, I can do that too. Here, Color. Here, that's cool. How do you Color? Yep.
Yeah, I could ban you from the server, dude. So what are we playing here?
I can ban you from the server.
Okay, so what?
I don't
Does that
know.
make you feel powerful now?
I don't know.
You've
been feeling like
here's where we go. All right. So I'm gonna do some statements. As you can see, it's a real heated discussion that we titled the show with here today. because, well, let's face it, we're not happy. We're not happy as Dolphins fans. It's not really good right now. And there's blame needing to go around. And whether it's Mike McDaniel's fault, which something neither of you two are talking about, because Cutler pointing out that the same things we worried about when drafting Tua, arm, playing late in the year, cold weather games, these are the same things we've been hearing every year since we got him. Injuries, same things. And every year at the end, when they talk about how they're going to fix it, it's how they're going to fix things for him. Ali is correct, because it's Chris Grier that's got his name at the top of these lists. Ultimately, as a manager, probably falls to you and should be. And he's been around here a long time, to where he should have probably known better than to stick with a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa. And ultimately, if you said that Tua's got to go, and because Tua's got to go, Grier's got to go, or Grier's got to go because of Tua, and they both got to go, I see that as a potential outcome. But where's the bridge? How did we get here? Well, a starry-eyed offensive coordinator slash run game guru slash McDrip came in with his designer sunglasses and his super cool clothing and his cool little hand and the shoes with no socks that we could see his ankles because his pants are high waters. Ooh, ladies love it. The ladies love it. Mick Cool. I couldn't pull off all that stuff that he's wearing. Honestly, would make me super uncomfortable to wear what Mike McDaniel is showing up on game day for. I don't feel comfortable in stuff like that. I'm not into wearing a $500,000 watch and, $4,000 sunglasses and $10,000 shoes. I'm not interested in having a couple $100,000 worth of attire on me. Gotta imagine that that's distracting. Oh man, you stepped on my shoes. I don't want to ever think about somebody stepping on my shoes. That's just me personally. But it was this man, this starry-eyed individual that came from the West Coast, all the way from Hollywood, some say. This kid's a go-getter. That's what the word is. He's the next best thing, you see? He's the one that's going to... He's the new guru. He's not a guru. He's a McGenius. He's not a quarterback whisperer. He's a genius. Comes in with this compilation and says, I've got the thing for you, Christopher Aloysius Greer. Don't worry, Tua Tagovailoa. Daddy's home. He convinced this ownership and management with the contingency. And I promise you, for anyone who wants to blame Chris Grier, all of where we are today over the last 3 years was contingent on if its failures come to fruition. They don't fall at Chris Grier's feet. Now, you can debate on whether that's the right thing or the moral thing or what should be. But even as much as last year, publicly announced, admitted, confirmed by Chris Grier, by Mike McDaniel, by Tua Tagovailoa, that just as strong as a case Mike made to come to Miami and coach this team, could have had other coaching jobs. Everybody wanted Mike McDaniel. Biggest, hottest thing on the street. Huh. Chose Miami Dolphins because of Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Chris Grier sounds like he's off the hook. This guy came in here selling this stuff. And we liked it, and it was good. That snake oil made all them pain and aches and go away. But when the symptoms started to return, and when things went right, and we still came up short in 2023, Greer potentially hesitant, had the fifth-year option. Tua's on his fifth-year option this year. No need to extend him. As we heard on several occasions, we haven't worked anything out yet. We're working things with all sides and all angles, and all of the side stuff comes out. Now, Tua Tagovailoa and his friendship and everything that he's done. The market is what the market is, some would say. Show me the money. Others would boast her. Allowed, accepted, and thanked his good friend Mike McDaniel that has fought hard against the powers that be in management to get his way, Mike McDaniel's way, for his boy, Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua, on the field, the product itself, not performing. Has Mike McDaniel backed himself into a corner by going so hard in the paint for Tua Tagovailoa and it's going to work no matter what? Has he left himself some wiggle room that if the Dolphins were to decide to move off of Tua, that he would make it through? Has Chris Grier put enough distance between him and Mike McDaniel and how he has championed Tua as such? And Tua getting paid the money he is with the contract, long negotiations that was painful for everybody, us included, dealing with it out here. Damn it. All of those things. And Tua comes up short. Is it so easy to just blame it all on him and let him go? Or does that domino effect roll all the way up and we clean in house? And there's plenty of people out there that will say, get them all up out of here. Run them up out of town, people. Chris Grier been here too long, failed at the rebuild, failed with firing Flo, failed with drafting Tua Tagovailoa, failed with hiring Mike McDaniel, failed with re-signing all these people, has put us into bad cap hell with the performance that we've had, all the way up to all the way back down to where we started again. Fire Chris Grier. Mike McDaniel, he's the one who brought us to this impasse. He's the one who took us off track. We had a whole second chance at life. And we saw what we liked from Mike McDaniel, but he swore to me, he swore to us all that Tua was him. Tua with the excuses, Tua with the injuries, Tua with the weaponry. If we just had a better O-line, if we just had more weapons, if we just had a tight end, if we just had someone to believe in, me. Because when I look in the mirror, I don't know if I believe in myself. If you give me someone that believes in me and give me weapons and give me more weapons and then to give me money, I'm only going to need an O-line and a run game and a defense and defensive playmakers and some turnovers and good coaching plays to design. So, where did it go wrong? Because I promise you, Dolphins fans, it's wrong right now. And although things look bleak, it gets bleaker. The only chance we got out is either wholesale changes be made, some drastic type of pivots are happening, or we're seeing 2024 and 2025 with less money and less assets and hoping that whatever young players under rookie deals and whatever we draft next year is going to be enough to elevate this team. Because I say to you, Dolphins fans, even if Chubb returns, even if Armstead comes in, we know what Chubb is, we know what Armstead is, and we know what Tua Tagovailoa is. They don't trade Tyreek Hill. He comes back. They go and get somebody else. You're still crap shooting it, baby. I don't mean that guy going to make up for whatever. You want to get O-line for Tyreek Hill? Well, who's taking his snaps? Who's taking his place? We didn't do that well with him this year, Capitan. Well, I don't know if you know or not, but everything's 10 fucking yards down the field. We'll get an offensive line now, Capitan. Well, now it's hashtag weapons for Tua. Round and fucking round, we continue to go with the fucking madness of shortcomings of why things aren't working out, rather than motherfuckers stand up and saying, I don't give a fuck about shortcomings. You got me, Dow. Where are those people's at? But let's not act like there is not a fourth culpable person in the failure of this rebuild. Who, you might ask? Who, Capitan? Could be the last person. It's Capitan, you're saying it's not Chris Greer? You're saying it's not Mike McDaniel? Oh, I don't know, Capitan. It's got to be Tua. Well, probably right. Probably all three. McCullers said something a little interesting, something I was going to touch on. Pause. The reason why this team will say now we need an O-line, the reason why they continue to say it over and over and over again. The Miami Dolphins falling short late in the year. Is that Tua? Is that Mike McDaniel? I'll tell you who's to blame. The Miami Dolphins are to blame. It's the Miami Dolphins. Because if you were to go back to the 5th year of the Ryan Tannehill year and measure it up with the 5th year that we're having this year, to then measure the 4th with the 4th and the 3rd with the 3rd and the everything with the everything. Need more weapons so I can get a good look at this quarterback. Need a better coach so I can get a good look at this quarterback. Got a good look at this quarterback, but can't make a full assessment until get that defense figured out, because, I mean, that's not working. Oh, we need O-line. Oh, we need this. Oh, we need everything every fucking year with this organization. Because this isn't new for the Dolphins. Late season collapses. This isn't new. Being mediocre. This isn't new. None of it is. Y'all think it just looks and feels new now. We have been spiraling on this hamster wheel. We ain't even running on it no more. You know when two hamsters are running on a hamster wheel and one's running on it and the other gets stuck and he just fucking going around in it like this? We're the second hamster now, Dolphins fans. This organization is the second hamster. Fuck, it's bad enough being the hamster on the wheel. We the second one, stuck in the wheel, spinning around. What an embarrassment. For those that are Tua lovers, they pray to the altar of Tua when they say get an O-line. They're not wrong. When they say the O-line's the problem, when they say Mike McDaniel blowing games with bad clock management and, you know, this and that. That happens in game-by-game instances. Tua, when those that hate him, that are off of him, Say this guy lost it all. There's games that he's done it. He just did. Tua didn't do enough to win us it. You damn right. He played safe underneath. They had freaking 30 passes, 15 yards or less. They didn't put nothing with air under it. When they say it with the counter, well, we need that O-line because this run game, we don't have balance. We don't have balance. I say the balance could cost you. And everything built up to this point was to have a high-flying passing attack. And maybe that's where Mike McDaniel went wrong. But Mike McDaniel is the best offensive coach we've had in decades. Everybody loves him. Yeah. Might be right. Play designer, young coach. He needs time, Capitan. He needs time. He's still a young coach. He's got to figure it out. You're not wrong. But you're not right either. Chris Greer's got to go, Capitan. He has been a part of the losing since the losing started. He's the only constant in all of this failure. Look at how he's handled this rebuild. Look at what he's done. But on the same token, Chris Greer is literally the guy who gathered so many assets. And if you go back to the beginning of the show, you'll see where all of the picks were made. The trades were made, the accruing of assets, the then changing things once things changed. When things changed that third year, they fired a coach. They had a quarterback on the ropes. They needed to figure things out and figure it quickly. They brought in a coach. They traded assets to get what he needed. And then they traded assets to get the defense he needed. Did Chris Greer do anything that would be considered malpractice for trying? For doing it the proper way? I get the OC coach commander up in this, ma. He needs weapons for a quarterback that's on the ropes. He's got a foot out the door. The guy looks at himself in the mirror and asks, am I doing the right thing? We got to fix this. And fix it Chris Greer did, along with Mike McDaniel's plan to get it done. Got to get this defense fixed. It was a real problem at the end of the 2022 season. Let's go get Chubb. Let's go get Fan Man. Let's get this together. We're going to do it. We're going to get it together. Everyone is culpable, yet nobody is at fault. And the only constant is the Miami Dolphins doing business the way they've done business with us Dolphin fans for decades now. So when I say the Miami Dolphins are to blame, they are. But now we're fighting capitalism, aren't we? They got a job to do, and that's make money. And as Ali pointed out earlier, to sell hope. And that's what we keep buying, hope. Because we love the game. We love watching it. We love having the friends together to watch it and enjoy it with each other, especially when it's winning during the holidays, which we don't know anymore. We haven't done that in a long time. But we can remember how good it felt when we did. In that little sliver of flicker of light in the darkness of all that seems to be hopeless. We buy back in, baby, every single time. And so I say this to you. The Miami Dolphins are to blame. But the reality is, it's all of our fault. We have allowed ourselves to be bought, repackaged, and sold with no repercussion of holding it to a higher standard, constantly falling for the next new thing sold to us on how it's going to be fixed because of our love and hope for this football team being abused and such. And until we can all stop fighting against each other, have a little bit more fun with it, obviously, because fighting's going to happen. But show unity to the logo, and enough with general managers, enough with coaches, enough with players, and judge these people on them, their individual performances, what they're being paid, and what expectations must be met with the money, draft, job title, execution. And until we can do that and agree upon for the better part of what that really means, we'll continue to be that second hamster spinning on that hamster wheel. Hit the like button on the way out, everybody. Thanks for coming.